Welcome to episode 241 of the Reptile Gumbo podcast. Jack is back. He's still in America. And if they keep getting on free refills on soda, I'm not sure if he's going back.
Yeah.
We'll
I'm
keep him forever.
gonna miss that so much.
Free refills on soda and barbecue.
Oh, barbecue's also very good.
So Robert will not be here tonight. Robert had some stuff come up. So it's me, Katie, and we got Jack filling in. Old Sir Jack.
From the nether region.
From the nether regions. Also, if you're listening now and haven't heard last week's podcast, that's because I haven't put it out yet. But you know what? It'll get out.
I'm going to start setting an alert in my phone to remind you.
You can set an alert all you want. I still have to be the one that comes up here and sits down and does this. And I just haven't done that yet.
I know.
I'll do it tonight.
You have also been not well. So
that's true. Being diabetic sucks.
Yes. I've been
trying to not be a diabetic is even worse.
I've been telling you to watch what you're eating.
I think it's better just to go ahead and lose a foot.
No.
And be able to eat whatever the fuck you want.
You won't let me do that.
No. But you can take care. I'm not taking care of you without a foot. But you can take care of me without a foot.
Lewis.
Or I'll be like Chris and get a cool bionic leg.
You are not.
Be like Tink Tink.
I'm not feeding you dinner before the podcast
I can be like,
again, or letting you take a nap.
I can be like Tink Tink from South Africa and get those little Tink Tink things.
Sir.
And then accidentally shoot you through a bathroom door.
If anybody's accidentally shooting anybody, it's me shooting you.
Oh no, I thought there was a burglar taking a shit in my bathroom. That's why I killed them.
Absolutely not.
Jeez.
I just picture him in prison without his little Tink Tink feet, like crawling around on the ground.
Jack has gotten to witness us like in real life outside of the podcast. And we really do love each other. It doesn't seem like it.
I didn't pretend in front of Jack. Could you stop hitting me? Jesus Christ. My blue tongue just put his nuts on his food.
Why?
I don't know. He's weird. Anyways, let's do. Oh, look, it's all C anal side.
Oh my God.
What do you? That's their name. Katie.
It is not their name.
Jack, how do you pronounce that?
It is canal.
C anal side exotic.
C anal side
exotic. Do not
exotic.
agree with him. I'm the one who feeds you.
That's the only way I can read it.
It's because of how names. That's their,
I read it that way every time
choose the
in my
name.
mind.
The C stands for Canada because they're Canadian. Those people are weird. And it's anal side exotic.
It's not.
It is.
Blink twice if you need help.
You spelled Jack wrong. It's Sajak. You gotta get it right.
SJAK.
Sajak.
Shock. But Jack is easier.
So you say that and it sounds like Chuck.
No.
Chuck, like the American
It
Chuck.
sounds like the little mouse from Cinderella.
Or no, not Jacques.
That's French.
But it sounds
That'd be
similar.
French. Don't confuse him with French.
Well, I know we had this discussion the other
That's
day.
the one thing that we have in common between the two countries. Fuck the French.
Yeah.
Frogs.
Oh my God.
Shuck, like what you do to corn. Shuck. Shuck corn.
But you need a different vowel sound.
You need a different vowel sound.
So that's why Jack is easier.
That's why Jack is much easier.
Oh,
and I'm not gonna even try your last name.
Verdaasdonk.
That's there are too many vowels in that word. And I swear some of them aren't being said.
I love that there's someone other than Megan's last name, but like that just, oh man.
That's great. Not even my full name.
What is your full name?
You want to see?
No, I want you to say it.
No, I want to see it.
Jacques Cornelis Christianus Verdaasdonk.
Oh my God.
You're making shit up. Let me see here.
You look so young.
Jack Cornelius Christianus. See, at least most of those I can say American. That last name can't sound American. That's
Verdaasdonk.
Badonkadonk.
No, sir.
Chuck Cornelius Cristiano Badonkadonk.
No.
That seems right.
That is
give
cool.
or take a few letters.
So that's why it's just Jack.
What is that on the back?
Just watch out with the front.
Oh, if you want to see,
you don't need his identity stolen.
You with short hair is weird. It looks like this picture looks weird. It looks like you're in a concentration camp.
James.
But look at
because we can't laugh
that
on our
is too
pictures.
much.
It still does not look like a picture from World War II.
You're not supposed to smile, I don't think.
In World War II, no, you didn't have to smile in World War II.
But I don't think either. They made me take my glasses off, and my face is so round in that photograph, and I hate it.
I think that's weird because everybody tends to really love their driver's license. But
I loved all my pictures in Louisiana where they let me keep my glasses on my face. These people that pull me over are never going to see me.
Seeing him side is just walking back from walking his kid's friend home. Says fucking kids walk to my house. Why can't they walk back? Agree. Look, when I was a kid, you just went outside and played, and then you showed back up when it got dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I had to be home before the streetlights came on.
Yes, small scales. It's slap a bitch and badonkadonk.
Oh my god.
Badonk, yeah.
Anyways, let's get some sponsors out of the way.
Lord. Well, if you are looking for feeders, then Lil's Shop of Horrors is the place for you.
Lil's.
L-I.
In there.
Lil's Shop of Horrors.
Lil's.
That's what I said.
You put a T in there. Lil's.
We're gonna play this back. They operate.
I haven't even played the first one from last week back. Well,
commercial. Would you stop interrupting?
go.
Me?
Look, Lewis is in the chat. You're getting his thing wrong.
You're messing this up. Lil's Shop of Horrors operates a commercial feeder breeder facility based out of San Antonio, Texas, and they specialize in rats, mice, duvia roaches, Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and more. As feeder breeders, they focus on the nutritional needs of the animals that consume them. They do weekly meetups throughout South Central Texas and are aiming to expand their meetup locations this year. So be sure to follow them online, lilsshopofhorrors.com, and follow their online schedule to keep up to date with their meetup schedule. If you're looking to place an order, feel free to contact them through any of their social media pages or email them through their inquiries page.
That sponsorship blurb has not been the same once.
I know, it's beautiful. I kind of love it.
I don't even know what you have written in your phone.
It's so long. It's like 7 paragraphs.
But it has not
and
been
I just
the exact
pick and
same
choose,
one
and
time.
It's great. Lewis hasn't complained yet, though, so I think I'm okay.
Go get your mice and rats from Lewis. Canal said streetlight's been on here for 2.5 hours now. Walked here in the dark, walked back, and yeah,
I'm fat. I don't want that.
that's probably you live way up north. It gets dark even faster up there. That's ridiculous. Yeah, y'all would not be able to go by the rule of come home when the streetlights come on because they'd never be able to leave. Sorry, I'm turning my phone silent. People comment in the Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, go join our Discord. I think the link is over on our. I'll check it again, but I think our link is over on our Facebook page. Herp's Reptile Shows. Next Herp's Reptile Show is this weekend in Denison, Texas. That's up near Dallas area. If you're up in that area, then that's November 23rd, November 24th this weekend. Austin, Texas, December 7th, December 8th. The last one of the year is Slidell, Louisiana, December 14th and 15th. Last chance to get your Christmas presents if you're in that area. And then the first one of the year is in the Great White North or Oklahoma City, January 11th, January 12th. Not going there. That's too far away. Longview, Texas, January 18th, January 19th. Big Conroe Show, January 25th, January 26th. Down to Corpus Christi, Texas, February 1st, 2nd, and then over to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, March 2nd, or March 1st and 2nd. So sunset was at 4:30 up there in Canada.
What time's the sun rise?
It
So
doesn't. It's just Canada.
That's also in the Netherlands right now. 4:35. Then
Ugh.
the sun's
Gross.
down. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sun come up. You don't know. You're not even up that early.
No, I am.
Jack's like the sun comes up before I wake up. That's what time it comes up.
No, because I wake up at 6.
And your sun's not up. Well, I guess our sun comes up probably about 6:30 here.
But normally I check my watch. But it's now to Houston, so it's 6:49 here.
It's 7:09 here.
No, the sun.
Oh, I thought you were
Comes
like,
up.
I'm the time is
No,
7:09.
no. But my watch says like when the sun comes up, but it's changed to Houston.
Also,
Yeah.
VivTech products. Check out VivTech products for all your LED UVB light bulb needs and use code GUMBO22 to save 15% on all of your bulbs, even though somebody ordered bulbs and didn't use that code.
he ordered directly from the source. You cannot be mad at him.
Oh, I can be. But be better than Jack. And use code GUMBO22 and save 15% on your LED UVB light bulbs from VivTech or your smart devices. If you want to get a camera from them, check them out. Go use code GUMBO22. It's 59 degrees in Ohio. I think it was less than 59 degrees this morning here.
It was chilly this
I think
morning.
when I got to my car said it was 56 degrees. So I don't know why it's warmer here than in Ohio. That's weird.
It's supposed to be in the 40s tomorrow night.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Cool. Luckily, I don't have tortoises to take care of outside, so we're
Mm-mm.
good. Are we ready to get to the guest? Check out on Morph Market Simply Serpents if you want a boa or a sambo. I posted a bunch of snakes for sale on it, and someone told me I need to sell snakes to pay back for stuff.
Yes.
That's someone sitting next
Buy
to
some
me.
snakes
So feel free to buy a boa.
or join the Patreon. because this
Or join-
podcast is free for y'all, but it ain't free for the Lewis household.
Yeah, I get yelled at about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, it's fine. You know, I'm gonna get yelled at about something. So, but yeah, check out our Patreon. I've got to sit down and edit the Reptilandia trip that we took for Carpet Fest. I've got to sit down and edit that, so I can put that out. Look at me like, what are you gonna look at me for? You have no idea how to edit that?
I don't know how to do that, but I thought you already did that.
No, I did the one for
The zoo.
the zoo.
Okay.
We still need to do a big trip to Crocodile Encounter, which we'll talk about later because Jack went to Crocodile Encounter, so we'll ask you in a little
Bring
bit.
our guest in.
I'm-
They're just
can you-
sitting by
Can you
themselves.
give me a minute?
Uh-huh. Look, somebody wants a Sambo.
I've got Sambos. I got 5 that are ready to go right now. I fed them last night. They want a new home. So feel free to reach out to me if you want a Sambo. And their dad's pretty, so hopefully they should be pretty too. Their dad's like neon orange. Anyways, getting to our guests. So our guests tonight are JD and Kit McClain of Slithering Oddities. Let me pull them in. They were suggested by one of our listeners. There they are. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Sorry it took so long. Katie wouldn't shut up. It was crazy. She just talks. Christine says she wants a snow. I don't have any snow.
Yeah, you don't
Sambos
have any of
available. Sorry.
those.
I have one snow. She's a bitch. And
I mean,
we'll leave it at that.
you're not wrong.
She's kind of a bitch. She almost died last time she had babies. And I'm pretty sure she ripped a hemipene out of one of my males.
Yep.
So opened the tub and she was covered in blood.
Real psychopath.
Yeah. Yeah, she was covered in blood on her back end. And I'm like, well, that can only come from the male hemipene. So hopefully he still has one that works because he was expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Whew.
Fucking breeding animals sucks. This is why I will never breed this fucking blue tongue because that scares the shit out of me. Or the lychee behind me because that also scares the shit out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Animals rip off appendages. So, what do y'all keep?
Oh wow. We keep about right around 25 species of snakes. I'm big into pythons, always have been.
No, hold on. You gotta specify.
I keep almost all the Antaracea, except for pygmies, currently.
don't
And
know what
banded
that is.
pygmies.
You do know what Antaresia is. Remember the little bitch snake that we had that I sold to Blake?
The children's python?
Yeah.
Okay.
Children,
That's it.
spotteds, eastern, western stimsons. We do all those. I do olive pythons, Australian olive pythons. What else? Brettles, genetic stripe, normals. We're working with some hypogene as well.
But do you do the only good python, which is the ball python?
I do own 3 ball
Oh,
pythons.
damn it! You failed the test. That was
But only
was
3.
My young-
That's not
but-
bad.
They're all normals, and the youngest one of them is 24 years old.
gross.
That's not
I
bad.
had it myself when I was young.
You have
Hey,
3 in
you
your
won't
Don't
house.
tell
get
people
that
I have
far
ball pythons. Stop
me
it.
on that. I got some flack at a show I was at this weekend because I made an advertisement that said something about passing by the pet rocks and their crashing market and come get an active snake that eats regularly from us or something. And I guess a few vendors got bent out of shape about it, but I didn't mean any harm. It's just marketing.
Then they should keep real snakes.
turn a buck.
They should just keep real snakes, right, Jack? Ball pythons suck.
They're pretty fun. But I like my brooms more.
Gross. Gross.
See, you were
Okay,
all
so-
worried that I was going to be harsh on ball pythons on here. She's like,
I
"Don't be
told
too
her to be
harsh
a
on the
little
ball
nice.
python."
Oh my
Oh, I shit on them all day
Oh.
long.
Everybody knows.
Two
But he's
ball
a
python people.
python breeder, so
I
he
am.
has to watch himself.
I did. I have bred 1 clutch of ball pythons, which means that me and Kabilka are the same person.
No.
Yeah. He breeds ball pythons. I breed ball pythons. He's got
There's just
snakes
too
in the
much
room.
out there now, just too much. It'd be nice to see some other things. We also keep things like Macklot's pythons, water pythons, Amazon.
So you're a big
tree
fan of getting bit, is what I'm hearing.
no, not really, and I don't get bit that often.
Okay, it
but-
looks like that cat is super small and like a parrot on his shoulder right now. Fucking hilarious. Sorry, I just got sidetracked. It looked like a tiny mini cat on your shoulder.
Like when you're holding like the Washington Monument or something in your hand from a distance.
Yes, same thing. Exact same thing.
We do a
Thanks for
few
the-
colubrids
I'm going
species.
to smack you, and all 9 people watching are going to get to
It's
witness
10.
this.
Just went to 10.
60, 10 people are going to get to watch you get.
It'll still be a better fight than the Tyson fight. and as much as our internet fucks up, people can actually still see it.
There you go.
But
Speaking
yeah,
of,
I
because it
kind
will
of like
probably
the edgier
happen.
stuff. I'm kind of like I've always liked weird pythons and boas. That's always been kind of my gig. I did the ball python thing for a little bit, and I still had some other snakes. And even several years back, I was talking to one of my friends. I was like, "Man, this is getting flooded fast." I was like, "I think I'm going to totally get out of ball pythons," and I did. And it took me like probably 6 years to rebuild up to that many animals again and to get stuff breeding, and things like that. So it's been a long road, but now we're getting there, and it seems like nobody's buying snakes. So, but and that's not, I don't want people to think that money is my main motivation here, because it's definitely not. If it was,
You still got to pay for shit though.
I wouldn't keep and breed the things that I do, So a lot of this stuff, all of pythons like that, is not a fast moving animal off of a table at a local show, it's not. So
we also keep a few random colubrids. We've got like Mexican black king snakes, some variable king snakes that I'm working on, some Hondurans, tricolored pair, and a tangerine.
Streamline stuff.
Yep, from Craig. What's his last name?
Hotnick or Hoytnick or something like that.
He's a good Honduran guy.
Yeah, we're lucky enough in Ohio to have like 2 really good Honduran breeders, because Norm Dam is here too, so he's basically like the king of old school Hondurans and everything. So
yeah, we're working with what are those? The albino Colombian rainbow boas, rosy boas,
Bismarck ring pythons.
Yeah,
we have one at this point.
So Bismarck rings are one of those snakes that are really cool for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then they're a huge letdown when you're like, why is it not orange anymore?
Yeah. They drop the color pretty hard. It's a shame.
Still cool. Like, it's still a cool thing. And I own a lot of snakes that people hate anyways. I have Calabar's burrowing boas, and then I have sand boas, and I have rubber boas. So all of mine are boring ass underground snakes also, but it's always a shame that like that's one of those things where they fall into the same trap as ball python people. You have to sell them while they're pretty.
Yes.
Because they get older, they become harder to sell.
That's one of the worst things, and that's one of the reasons I was like souring on the morphs too. Is just I don't ever really see an adult morph that I'm just like, wow, that looks amazing. I'd much rather look at a 20-year-old carpet python of some kind than like a ball python morph that's like 8 years old.
Well, that's why, like, as far as ball pythons, I like pieds and bananas, because they will always look like pied and banana. They're going to look that way their entire life.
Yeah. But even the brown on your pieds, if it's just a standard pied, it gets quite a bit darker than it was. That's the biggest thing with ball pythons is that striking orange or gold they have as a baby. It just fades to the brown, So I crushed Katie's hope. Knocked on for having brown snakes, and I always look at ball pythons. I'm like, they're fucking brown snakes too.
I crushed Katie's hopes. Katie likes black
and dreams, man.
She likes black and white snakes or black snakes, and so the first time she saw a baby Xanthic ball, she's like, "Oh, that's awesome!" I was like, "Look up an adult."
It was brutal.
And then she's like, "Well, it doesn't look the same." I was like, "Yeah, they don't. They ugly out as they get older."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you have the opposite. If you're breeding like carpets, it's the complete opposite when it comes to breeding them, right? They start out looking like shit.
Yeah.
Better looking. They gain all their colors and everything as they get older.
Yeah.
I cheat. I have Samboas. They look the same when they're born as when they die. We're good. They're gonna look the same the whole way through.
Yeah, some stuff, we breed's a little brighter. Like obviously your spotteds and children's, they're a little cleaner looking when they come out of the egg than they are as they get older, But and all snakes dull somewhat as they get older. But some nice jungle carpets hold color pretty well, I can tell you that.
Yeah. And I had one children's python, and she fucking hated me. There was no handling her. Yeah, which pissed me off because to me, children's python. First off, the name is misleading for anybody who doesn't understand its name for a person. It's a really fucking misleading name. She's like, "Oh, it's great." No, it's horrible for kids. But it's like the best python in the sense that it gets like 3 foot long and it looks like a python. Like it looks the way you want a python head to look, the eyes to look, not like a stupid round rock, like a ball python.
Like most pythons.
Yeah, it looks awesome looking. It's just mine was a dick. And
if you don't handle them like at all, they're terrible. Like you have to handle them with some frequency, and even then, some of them are probably not great. So
I remember buying her as a baby, and she was so small that like she just sat there. She bit me 100 times just sitting there, but she was so small it didn't break the skin. I was like, oh, this is cute. This is hilarious. And then as she got bigger, it was not cute anymore.
yeah, it starts getting less cute with the more blood that comes out.
Yeah.
Like my spotteds, like they seem real cool at first, and then they're just super sneaky. They'll just like tag me on the inside of the arm when I'm handling them or something like that. They're just the children's at least in Stimson's, they usually at least out of the gate, they're like, I hate you, get away from me, give me food or go away, you know. But the spotteds are always super sneaky when I'm messing with them.
Spotteds just get too dark for me. I like how light the children's tend to be. A lot of spotteds I see get really dark as they get older.
Yeah, especially the ones from Papua. They're really dark. I work with a few genes and spotteds as well. I work with the stripe gene, the granite gene. I'm working on crossing those two genes, which according to Justin Julander a couple years ago, he didn't think had been done in the U.S. yet. And you might not even be able to tell. It just might be weird. But I just, why not try? I have the genes. Cape York spotteds we work with, which is a subspecies. Those are pretty cool.
So Jack, this is where we need y'all's magic portal in Germany.
Yes.
Because there's about 7 trillion morphs of children's and spotteds in Australia.
Yeah,
but we don't have all that here.
Give it a couple of years.
I have a patternless children eye that I randomly hatched out of a clutch that I'm working on proving out. We'll see if I can do it or not. But it's throwing all kinds of weird stuff out, and so are its siblings. So hopefully we'll be able to prove something out on that. It's a really cool looking snake. It's like a reddish brown with like it's almost got like coppery iridescent flecking in it. It's weird. You have to see it under light to be able to see it, but really cool looking snake.
I forget who I watched. I watched a video once, and that's where I realized how many different different antaresia morphs there are in Australia. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that's crazy
on this.
Yeah,
but did they now lump all those species together or something like spotted and children's? And
they did lump some of the antaresia together. Which antaresia they tried to lump children's spotteds together at one point. I don't know if they actually came through with it, or if it was just that dumbass in Australia who wants to lump everything together.
We also work with northern white lips, not for super long, about a year now. Those are super fun. Super
fun.
Are those always a hot snake, and why everybody would want them.
Are those the black ones, or are they the gold ones?
No, they're the gold ones. They're not the ones that are supposedly nice. They're the ones that are not, and they're like F1s too. They're like F1 juveniles right now.
So I wanted to.
They hate me.
So in our chat, a couple of things. So Jeff in our chat, one, he asked if we gave Jack a tiny chair. He is in a tiny chair, but he is a small man. Jack,
I'm not that big now.
Jack's a small dude, so he may be the shortest Dutch man you've ever met. Vikings didn't make it to his part of the Netherlands. His people didn't get raped by Vikings. He doesn't have that gene. So
yeah, I'm not that big now.
And then he said, Jeff also says what people don't talk about is carpet pythons after 7 or 8 years and how they dull out. Some of them do, but I've definitely seen some older ones that are nicer. I've definitely seen some jungles, but that's through a lot of selective breeding now with jungles.
I've got some 8-year-old jungles here that we picked up, and they look pretty good for their age. Pretty nice looking. One's a Fudo line, and the other one's a Hamper line. But yeah, I mean, they look pretty good.
Yeah, I think the important thing with that is like going for lineage. With stuff.
I mean, and 3 to 5 is the best years for your carpet python, and for that matter, most of your pythons on their colors, except for Bismarck ring pythons. But most of your pythons, their colors are going to top out at 3 to 5 years of age. Like I keep blood pythons as well. Blood pythons, like when they're babies, they're not all that red, you know what I mean? But as they grow, they just start getting redder and redder. So That's definitely one of those things too. Not all of them, but if you got good lines and good quality animals, they should get some nice reds to them at some point. But I'll probably be stepping out of those. They're not really in line with what I do for the most part, and they just freaking pee too much, man.
That's what I've always heard, that everyone always talked about, is that they hold on to it forever and then they pee just like gallons at a time.
And they're kind of touchy, like some are not good at all, and some are fairly okay, and then some you think they're fairly okay, and then all of a sudden they're not good at all. You know what I mean? Like it's weird.
Well, and they're spring loaded. They're kind of like sand boas. They're short, fat, and it's all muscle ready to strike, and they can strike out of nowhere and in every angle.
And they're way faster than they look like they would be. That's for sure.
Yes. I just don't trust. And like, I've had several friends that have them. I just don't trust any of the short tail stuff.
It's fair.
I don't feel like getting bit by them.
I have one blood python, and she's just the meanest snake I ever kept. And like, I also have big berms, and if they want to strike, you can just with a hook, you can just
because they lazy strike.
Berms,
berms will lazy strike.
Yeah, and you have like a whole snake to like keep away from you, but she's like this big, but this round, and she strikes like
her head's already right near her ass, no matter what. So
yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, you can tailor or anything.
Can get around to their tail quicker than you can move your hand away.
Yeah, and she just bites straight up and then backwards, and she's so mean.
Sambos, that's why I ever tell people with Sambos, I'm like, never reach in and grab your Sambo. Like, you have to tap that thing and let you know you're coming, because Sambos will leap out of anywhere. But it's all that short, fat muscle. Just yeah, I'll take big, long, lazy snakes when it comes to stuff like that. Like, boas are easy. They kind of lazy strike also.
I like stuff
Berms
that
are very easy.
try to escape me.
Yeah.
I could keep them out in front of me.
Darren's talking about blood python, says they hiss regardless of the mood. Yeah, that's just because they're fat with the big old lungs. They can't help it.
They are so loud.
They're loud breathers. Just like berms are loud breathers, and some of the big snakes are just loud breathers. Jeff said, is the typical blood pythons in the EU? Is that typical blood pythons in the EU that they're mean?
I don't know. As much as I've seen them, yes. At least when I bought mine, she was very chill, but I grabbed her.
Did you buy it at a show?
No, I bought it at somebody's place, and I noticed as soon as it was like, oh, just take her out. So I pulled her out, and I was like, he lowered the temps a couple of degrees, and as soon as I put it on like the good temp, it was such a bitch, and it still is. So I don't know, but I think it's just that's the old
trick from reptile shows. It's been inside of a reptile expo for 2 days. It's 70 degrees in there, and it's the calmest snake on earth. And they get it home, put it on heat, and it wants to kill you, because that's what it really is.
And they were being like advertised as like the next step up for beginners from ball pythons, and I'm like, seriously?
Well, and just their care is so different. Like if maybe
if we're talking morph game or something, but like,
I feel like a carpet is easier to take care of from someone who's kept a ball python. If they're going to step up to something that's a little more difficult,
it's easier to handle.
Yeah.
I went from ball python to berm, and that was way easier than blood python.
Berms are easy though.
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, berms are
easier than blood.
And we've been doing them for so long. They've been in captivity for so long.
When I was young, berms were big before the ball python craze ever even hit. Like, everybody had berms. They were the craze, So yeah.
It's like retics now.
Yeah.
Retics are so calm now. When I was a kid, every retic wanted to kill you. And now you see little kids holding retics all over the internet. So Christina says she feels like rosy boas are great beginner snakes.
That's that little kid if he's ever dealt with a wild-caught yellowhead solowassi. That's a different learning curve for him right there.
I don't know if I agree on rosies being great. I have rosies, and they can be good beginners, but you have to be sure you're okay if they're nippy.
So I agree. From what we have, so we have the we got Limburg line.
Yeah, Limburg albinos.
Yep, Limburg albinos, San Felipe and San Bernardino. Now our San Bernardino's I don't know about that female. Sometimes you might not be able to trust her, but the male, we call him Albert. He's chill. He's very chill guy. Chill. He never bit me once. But the albinos, like I've been breeding them for years, and we've actually reset our project here because I had some old animals and a couple passed away.
And the albino Limburgs are just terrible.
Yeah.
Like some of them will even start off out of the gate to where they're like not bitey. And then as soon as they establish a feeding routine, they'll bite the living shit out of you every time you touch one of them.
I've got generic Mexican rosy boas that I've had for going on 20 years now, because we got them in 2005, I think, Katie, when you and I got together. Mexican rosies.
I think so.
So they're going on 20, and so they've had a couple babies here or there, and the male is calmish. Once you get him out, he's good. The female is temperamental. She will strike randomly, and there's days where she's more of a bitch than others. The babies,
we all?
the babies though, the babies come out calm. They're great for like the first few days, and then like you said, once they start feeding, and then it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and bite whatever comes near me. They're not great, so it's just tricky, but again, with handling and all that, it can calm down. But I feel like sometimes they get they're great for kids because they're small. I like Samboas better for kids, and I know people are like they're nippy too, but I have way less nippy Samboas than I've had experience with nippy rosy boas.
Yeah.
So, but I do like roses. I would like to see people doing rosies and Samboas more than fucking ball pythons as their first snake.
Yeah.
I
I think ball pythons are like a headache for a snake for some people. And, you know, ball pythons, even though they do make a good first pet for a lot of people, they're not the perfect first pet for every keeper. You know what I mean? And that's, I think that's what, like I see it a lot in the community online and stuff. I think that's what some of us are pushing at when we're cracking and clowning on ball python people. You know, it's not that we're necessarily doing that against them or the snake. You know, it's just that a lot of us are sad that there's not other things available in the hobby that we would like to see, at least not with any kind of frequency, and that we're passionate about these other animals out there, but no one else is because no one's educated on them at all. You know, it's, I mean,
and I don't
python may be the perfect snake for you if there was enough research out there pretty much that you could do on one. You know, it's like, I mean, I'm a liasis head, and like I have to scour the internet to find like pieces of information on things everywhere, and then check any snake book in my collection that I have and try to piece everything together to try to find out what the best plans were for me, you know, going in. So now
I don't shit on ball pythons as much as I shit on ball python people. That's the reason ball pythons annoy me is
for every like
bros.
Good ball python breeder, there's like 20 that are in it for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, and I just, as someone who has been in this for over 20 years, also has a degree in biology and has taken many genetics courses, it drives me nuts to hear a ball python bro try to explain genetics to somebody and totally fuck it up because they have no idea what genes actually are and how they work and how they pass. I just, and as a teacher, like I'm just like, I need you to stop. I need you to stop and just go find another hobby. Get out of this one. Look, I do own ball pythons, and I own one. Well, I own 3, but 2 of them I produced. So I own 1 and then 2 stupid ones that I produced.
And you get a new one?
I know I am getting it. It's for free. And Jeff, actually, it was Jeff's originally.
Everything is free.
It is. It'll make babies. And I'll make a banana pies, which is the only thing I really want to make.
But you got to feed it. And you got to house it.
You know what? I feed your snake, and you don't even know where it's at in the snake room.
That's a fact. But I take care of you a lot of the time.
What's that supposed to be? Anyways, Darren asked how my rough scale sands are great. They're not nippy at all. Those are actually probably the calmest species I have in there.
Cool.
I find rough scales to be pretty calm. My Indians are touchy here or there. The female has once you get her out, she's usually pretty good. I find the Russians, the Russians are usually pretty good once they're out. And then Kenyans are hit or miss every now and then. But usually the only ones I have that are kind of nippy are adults. I bought them as adults, and it's obvious no one handled them on their way to being an adult.
Yeah.
What is Jeff says? See, it's not free. It's a gift for all that I do for. See, all that I do.
Absolutely not.
It's a gift. I just like I am for you. I'm a gift.
That's where you were fixing to go.
Anyways, so many comments. I'm trying to keep with the comments. Oh, they're talking about feeding response. Yeah, feeding response. So that I think that's one thing that kind of gets confusing in a lot of the species that we're talking about, right? A mixture between attitude and feeding response. Because some animals, once out of the tub and in your hands, or out of the cage and in your hands, are not the same. So like my Louisiana pine snakes, out of the tub and in my hands, wonderful. If they can smell food, don't fucking touch them because they assume everything moving is food and they're going for it. The corn snakes can be like that too. I was feeding last night and I made the mistake of opening a corn snake tub and I didn't have food for that corn snake. And it came out wanting food and then getting.
Respect your wife, James.
You know what, Jeff? Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're wrong. It can't be right all the time. So like some of the snakes you keep, I'm sure have a great feeding response, but some of the snakes you keep historically are definitely biters. You get things like Maclots and stuff like that. They're definitely historically bitey snakes.
Well, and sometimes you
when
have
they're
snakes.
young.
Sometimes you have snakes that have a good feeding response as a whole for a species, but you got that one stupid snake that doesn't want to eat correctly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or it wants to eat something specific.
Yeah. Or backwards.
Yeah.
My corn snake likes to try to eat things backwards and then like
I like
halfway
the
through
brown
will like
stuff
change your
backwards.
mind.
Yeah.
It's better than ones that try to eat in the midway and then just fuck the food up.
Yeah.
I had feeding baby Sambos last night and left them in the tub with the food, came back. Obviously tried to eat it midway because there were pinky guts all over the inside of the cage.
That's
So
what
I had to remove that. Also, I opened a tub and there was a Sambo with another Sambo's head in his mouth
Oh my gosh.
because they were. I was pretty out there. I was feeding them in the same tub together. Get over it. I got too many baby snakes. They're fine, and if one eats one, at least they're feeding. That's
yeah, that happened with some children's pythons, only there wasn't any food involved. We were pairing them to breed, and she took a pretty good shot at him. It took both of us to get those little things apart, actually. She was latched onto him. Then they were breeding like an hour later, and then I paired him again like a few days ago, and she tagged him right in the side as soon as he went in, and they were breeding again like an hour later.
I threw a male Sambo in with a female once, and this because they have such a strong feeding response on anything that comes by their head when they're laying inside the bedding. I closed the tub, and all of a sudden I heard thrashing, and I opened it, and she's fucking got them. I'm like, God damn it, it's not food. And so once I got them separated, they were fine. She's just like, something moved past her head, so it had to be food.
Yeah.
And great feeding response. Sambos, like I said, tend to have really good feeding responses. And once you can get them
It's
eating.
been warm here this year, though, and I couldn't get my temps quite down on my Aussie stuff like where I wanted it early. So I had a couple females that still really wanted to eat this year. So look, but they're being bred now, so they're starting to pick it up. But
Well, that's the tricky thing about having when you're dealing with snakes from a giant island full of reptiles and a large portion of their diet is reptiles. And then you're like, all right, now I want you two reptiles to fuck, not eat each other. Because I know, like with some of the Australian pythons, they're snake. Some of them are snake eaters by nature. Like you look at womas,
Blackheads especially.
Yeah.
Womas, yeah.
they want to eat anything. So
I
that's
keep
always
womas as
concerning.
well. I've never had too many problems. I've never had cannibalism. I have had females like bite males though that I'm introducing for breeding and things like that for sure.
Well, and it's not uncommon for a male to actually bite himself.
It's not uncommon for womas to bite anything.
Yeah.
And all.
Sometimes you just take care of himself.
Yeah.
The male just not doing himself.
Absolutely not, James.
So here's a bit. I guarantee I know the answer to this one. Have you ever had a woma that didn't want to eat?
Actually, some of the first womas I had, I got like a big adult trio, and the females, I couldn't get them to eat much at all. And
They were defective.
I had them on loan actually, and I ended up like kicking the females back. I was like, man, these
Those
things
are defective womas. Those things.
yeah, I was like, don't do it. I was like, I don't know what's up with these things. I was like, but take them, sell them, do whatever you need to do because I can't get them up to breeding size, and they just don't want to give me any activity. But other than that, no. Ones I've hatched, eat. Jeff Frederick, trick with olives, reverse trio is untrue. I've heard that myself quite a few times, but I only keep a pair of adults currently. And I've never used a male or combated them. I think one of the biggest keys with olives is to have a large enough enclosure with lots of floor space for breeding. And the other one is just feed them the same. Let your male get as big as your female. At that point, you're not gonna have to worry about an accident like we were talking about where maybe she eats him or hits him or something like that. And he's also going to be big enough to hold her down when she's a big animal.
So their breeding is different because like I breed boas and it's very calm breeding. Like they just kind of come up next to each
Yeah.
other, wrap
Oh, my
tails.
female had like scars. She's got scars on her side from his spurs last season.
Jeez.
So she's taken the total year off this year and maybe next year. Like I'd never seen like a male go that hard, but he's so big, you know what I mean? And he's got some pretty
Wow.
good sized spurs. But yeah, she had little cuts on her sides from where he was spurring her and holding her into place and things like that.
Are they one of those that get mouthy and use their mouths to hold down?
I
females?
haven't seen any of that out of them. No, that spurring was some of the most extreme stuff I've seen. But I'm raising some olives that I've hatched as well.
See, Timothy asked how your production of olive pythons was.
I struggle with the eggs for a little bit. The Aussie stuff is extremely sensitive to moisture.
Yeah.
And
That's supposed to be tricky with MoMA eggs.
I hatched, what did we hatch? 12 babies this year?
Yeah.
12 babies we hatched this year.
Good.
I think I'm still sitting on like 9 of them. But they're a super cool species, man. They're like the smartest python I've ever worked with. One of the most curious as well. They pick up routines so quick, like hook training. They pick it up faster than a lot of other things. Like they just get it like right out of the gate.
How big are your adults?
My male is actually slightly larger than my female. I'd say she's about 11 feet. Or he's about 11 feet, and she's probably like 10 and a half.
Jeez. Do you do scrubs also?
I do not do scrubs currently. I would like to get into like one of the smaller scrub, like the Nada, the Tannenbar python.
Yeah.
I like stuff that bites, but scrubs are big and they're hard to get out of the way. Maybe eventually, if I have some more space somewhere, maybe I'd keep a bigger pair. I've been around some in the past, you know, when I was young, you know, I came up through like the pet shop era. So, you know, I've ran into a lot of things over the years and reptile shops and stuff like that. That's how I kind of cut my teeth becoming a keeper and breeder and stuff like that. Yeah, no scrubs currently.
I miss that we don't call them amethystine pythons anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up on.
Yeah,
No one does it
same.
anymore.
Yeah, my buddy Joseph Horn back there, he's got some scrubs who just commented. Apodora,
Jim,
Jeff
what's
Frederick. No, we've never had that, but everyone confuses our Australian olives for Apodora all the time.
I don't know how the head on Apodora looks so goofy as hell.
I think
compared
it's
to every
because
other-
they were considered subspecies by taxonomy for a long time. And then everybody labels them the Papuan olive python, which is probably not correct. You know, it's probably just a Papuan python, you know, like
Yeah.
that would clear up some of the confusion real heavily. I like the Apodora. I think they're cool snakes too, but I haven't worked with them to this point.
They just have, like, for me, for all those Australasian pythons, just the goofiest looking head. It looks to me much different than a carpet head.
I like the Aussie olive head better than the Apodora head.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only know a few people that have had Apodora, and I don't know anybody that's actually bred them. And everybody I know has had issues with some of their all
Ryan
important
Young
stuff.
bred them this past year, I think.
Yeah, but Ryan Young's also bred everything, so that's
Yeah,
that's,
he has. He has. He's probably my favorite breeder in the world. Like, honestly, he just.
that is cheating. You can't use him as
I
a
have
standard
to.
for.
I mean, when I was young, like that's what we wanted to do. You know, we didn't all want to make like morphs and stuff like that. We wanted to breed carpets and Maclots and this and that and this and that and that. You know, because that challenges you as a keeper and it furthers your hobby and furthers the animals in your hobby. You know,
I'd rather hear
it's
Ryan
a
tell me the
different
list of things.
mindset now.
I'd rather hear the list of things Ryan couldn't get to breed.
No doubt.
I'd find that much more interesting.
No
It'd be funny to hear it be like, yeah, I just couldn't do corn snakes or ball pythons. Never be able to do it. It's just, I don't know why someone just doesn't
I
send
couldn't
you a
get
bunch
house
of,
snakes to breed, man. I just couldn't. I couldn't work it out.
I just need to send Ryan a bunch of Bolins and hey Ryan, get these things to fuck for us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And 4 years from now, they'd be probably $800.
Yeah, it'd finally be affordable if we just get them in the right hands. Oh. So I wanted to look at the question that we posted this week. I I asked you, and we kind of talked about it, and I kind of wanted to get a question out there that covered several different things, kind of a variety. So our big thing was patience, and I kind of wanted to see what everybody's idea on when they thought taking patience with a snake, what it was. And so some of the answers I thought were really interesting. So the question was, what part of keeping or breeding snakes do you think takes the most patience, and why? And we got a variety of answers, and that's kind of what I was hoping. Timothy, who I think was in the chat, said raising projects up from babies without power feeding. A lot of people want to hurry up and try to breed them and then shorten their life by power feeding, which was one thing I know would get brought up, because that's definitely, I think that is one issue, and I don't know how it is in Europe, and I imagine it's probably the same at this point because we're all everybody's trying to make money. But I don't think we fully understand as a whole hobby. I know many of us do, but as a whole hobby, how old snakes really need to be to breed. We know how old snakes can be to breed, and I don't think that's the same thing as how old they should be to breed. And
true. Olive's a prime example for me. I bought mine from Crutchfield in 2012. He told me, he said, these will have to be at least 6 years old before you breed them. And I bred after 6 years, and I got a clutch, but they were all duds. I didn't get my first clutch with any viable eggs until she was 8.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you got to imagine, in the wild, first off, they're not eating on a regular basis from baby to breeding age, right? And so to finally get to a healthy size in the wild is going to take a lot longer than in captivity. Like Jeff says, this is another reason I fucking hate certain ball python people. They'll get I got the snake breeding size in 18 months. Okay, just because you did doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. Yeah. I'm assuming, Jack, you have that issue over there, people trying to do that.
Yeah, everybody just power feeds them that they're able to breed quick. I hatched like ball pythons, and they've produced their first clutch for me, and they're 4 years old. I just grow them slow, and at 4 years I was like, yeah, they're ready. So
yeah,
4 years is about the age on most of your pythons. That's about the solid age where you're, if you're feeding them the right way, they're gonna be about there at 4 years. Some species a little longer, but most of them right around 4.
And you see it on like the Facebook page also in the Netherlands, like people producing like clutches of eggs, where you see like a really small female on just 3 eggs, and all the babies get out of the eggs all kinked or not developed or those kind of things. And it's like, yeah, it's just because the female is way too young to produce a clutch.
Yeah, or God forbid.
But it laid eggs. It must be the right breeding size, Jack. If it laid eggs, it's got to be right.
Yeah, it laid eggs, but it didn't have babies.
So that's like with boas. You hear a lot of times. I remember when I got in the hobby, it was like, yeah, you got to get a boa to 3. And I'm like, I did. So now I've got older. Like 3 is
3. That's the number. Once it's 3, breed it right there.
That is not even close. Like really, like realistically, it really should take you to about 5 or 6 for most of your boa constrictors to be ready to breed. To really be ready to breed.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are pretty big animals that drop pretty big litters.
Well, and you kind of get tricked because they always, get into the hobby. It was always males this size and age, females this size and age. You can't really males. Yeah, I can breed my male boas at 2, easy, because they're males and they don't really have to do much. Like they're involved, but they're only kind of involved in the process. The female's doing all the hard work. So yeah, 5-6 years is much better for most of your snakes. But then you get some of your quick things, like you do king snakes and Hondurans and all of those, and a lot of your colubrids who kind of grow quicker, and they are a faster metabolism snake. And yes, you can probably get them ready in 3 years, and that's fine. Yeah. But we can't keep treating a corn snake the same as a berm, right? That's not the same body size and body shape, and their metabolism's not the same. So that I agree with Timothy that people have just got to have patience. It drives me nuts when people want to question somebody has a snake for sale, and they find out how old the snake is. They go, well, that snake's too small. I'm like, by what standard? Like, I say barely, but I very lightly feed my snakes. They're all healthy weight and body shape. But yes, my 3-year-old snake will probably not be the same size or weight as someone else's 3-year-old of the same species if they're feeding it every week, whatever size rodent for every week for 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's healthy.
Regular feeding schedule, don't go overboard. They'll grow just fine.
And the healthy is what matters.
Yeah. and they'll live longer.
Absolutely.
They'll
You want a lean,
definitely live
tiny
longer.
snake that, you know, looks right and not chubby and folds everywhere and things like that. So
I remember old king snake forums and see people post their giant boas. And I look back at this picture, I'm like, holy shit, that snake was so fucking fat.
I've
Mhm.
seen
And you
some
don't-
pretty huge boas. Good Lord.
And you don't see those pictures as much anymore, which makes me happy because, I mean, you used to see boas that were just round. I'm like, well, they're not even supposed to be round. That is the absolute wrong shape for a boa. And it would almost look like fat rolls. And it would be fat rolls just because the way they put fat on their body. And I think that's another thing people don't understand is the way they put fat on their body is much different than the way we put fat on our body, which is why it's even so much more unhealthy for them.
Did you ever see the picture of, like, I think it was in like the boa constrictor manual, and there's like this little girl sitting with this boa, and this thing is freaking gigantic. It's like I think it was one of those Philippe de Bassagley books or something. I don't know how to say his last name, but you know, he made all those like pamphlet books back in the day. But yeah, this thing is like massive. I mean, it looks like a 9-foot blood python or something. You know, like it's insane.
That's how every picture on king snake form would be. It would be a guy with his 9-foot Colombian boa around his neck and just fat body hanging down. Going, look how big my snake is. I'm like, now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't impressive at all. Like,
Well, it's 43 degrees outside.
yes, that's like the same dumbass who will take their sulcata out and go, my sulcata loves the snow. No, he fucking doesn't. He really fucking doesn't. He's just
trying
walking
to
to get
escape
away
it.
from it. And
People are so.
let's see. Jeff said, now just think of the folks who don't share their photos. He says, I've seen sausage-shaped corn snakes. That is true. I've seen some fat-ass corn snakes too. But that's another problem with this hobby is really for snakes, for a lot of people, their only interaction with their animal is feeding it. And in that case, I'm like, well, if you need an animal that you need more interaction with, get a fucking dog. It'll play fetch with you, right? If the only thing you're going to do with your snake is feed it,
Yeah.
it's not going to work.
You asked me the other day how often I handle my corn snake in my classroom. And I'm like, I randomly hold her while teaching at least 3 times a week. Like my kids are so used to seeing her out of the cage that they don't even react anymore.
Yeah.
But like one of the lizards are like, oh, she's getting so-and-so out. Like they get excited because they get a little more spastic than my corn snake does. But they don't even like they don't even care about the corn snake.
I still thought it was
anymore.
hilarious that you freaked out and thought I sent you too big of a meal for your corn snake.
It was terrifying.
So she's got an adult corn snake. I sent a small rat. I was like,
It was not small. That thing was gigantic.
I guarantee, because it came out of the bag labeled small rat. And yeah, it's a big meal for the corn, but it's a big meal for the corn to last it 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, all I know is that I didn't think she was going to get it down.
And she got it down, no problem.
Well, it was questionable for.
It was never questionable. I knew she could eat it.
The scales on her side looked like they were going to
You're
split.
always like, you sure that thing can eat that? I'm like, oh yeah. It'll eat it.
I was afraid she wasn't going to. So I normally I let my kids watch, but I'm like, nope, we're just gonna
Yeah,
feed
she
her
sends
in
me a
the
picture. Goes,
corner.
are you sure she can eat this? I'm like, I'm positive she can eat that.
Yeah.
She's a corn snake. I promise you she can eat it.
I questioned you the whole time.
And she's still alive. She didn't
Yep.
die.
She's fine.
Anyways, let's go to another answer on here. Nathan, our buddy Nathan Holcomb said, never bred anything myself, but I'm assuming either bringing them to, I assume it's supposed to be sexually because it says sensually maturity,
I saw that.
which would be awkward. I don't actually know what that would be. Anyways, sexual maturity, if done properly, it's very sensual maturity. You have to really, that's different. That's different getting them to sensual maturity. If done properly, or for some pickier eaters, waiting for them to take food. Yeah, well, so getting the sexual maturity, we talked about that a second ago. That is definitely, that number one that is not a number that's, again, we try to make everything uniform in the hobby, and sexual maturity for corn snakes is not the same for ball pythons, it's not the same for retics, it's not the same for carpets. So that's a different thing. That's one, you just have to learn your animal and talk to the right breeders and not the person who's selling 15 species on their table and they can't really tell you about any of them because they all picked them up from 15 different people. That's probably not the person to ask about how to raise or properly care for that species.
Yeah.
And I always tell folks, if you're interested in a species, when you walk around a show, if you go to a show and a person has 16 or 15 or whatever of that same species, obviously they have a clutch or a litter and they've been raising those. Talk to that person, not the guy who is just selling stuff who never really raises anything, but just gets deli cups from people and then resells it. that guy will tell you whatever he needs to tell you, whereas the other guys will tell you what you need to hear,
Yeah.
which tend to be two different things. But Nathan, the pick your eaters thing is tricky.
I'm pretty familiar with that. Raising children's and Stimsons, and the spotteds aren't quite as bad, but you get some of them too. They're rough eaters sometimes when they're little. Most of them are good, but it definitely takes some patience there to make sure that they're feeding on something until they start feeding on their own.
Yeah.
Those are lizard eaters, right? By nature.
Yeah, naturally they would prey on a lot of lizards in the wild, a lot of small lizards. They're tiny when they're born. People will see them at like a show or something. They'll be like, "Oh, look, that's a little baby," and I'll be like, "That snake's 6 months old." I'll be like, "That snake's had 37 meals at this point," or something like that. Definitely little species can be tough to get going. Do you have any problems with your sand boas getting going?
Yeah, I've got a whole bunch right now that aren't eating, that are probably going to be
I bought some Kenyans one time when I was younger, and the female ended up being gravid, and man, I had a hell of a time getting those little things to eat.
It's weird. I've had some litters that come out and they're great, and maybe one won't eat. This litter's been an issue. There were how many in this? This was a big litter.
There's like 27 or something.
No, that was the boa. I think it was 21 in this litter.
One litter was 27 and one was 21.
So this is a big sand boa litter, and a lot of them have not wanted to eat. I think I've gotten 9 to eat, 5 of them to eat on a regular basis, and some of the other ones are still not eating. So they probably have another month. If they don't eat, then the king snakes get to have a nice meal, which is the joys of owning a king snake, because they can take care of all that issue.
I used to have an Argus monitor for that, but I had it for a long time. It passed away.
Because I'm one of those, I refuse to assist feed anything. You either eat or die. Those are your options in my collection.
I had someone feeding now a lot with stubborn Antaracea. It's a little easier than a pinky.
Well, and Antaracea, so it's weird. So with something like, to me, with something like sand boas, which are very common in the hobby and we've bred for forever. If you have picky eaters, they're picky eaters, versus something that's not that common in the hobby, that hadn't been in the hobby. You've got to train that species to eat the shit we want them to eat, especially when it's not a rodent eater.
Get that into their DNA, basically.
Yeah, those guys, or some of your Solomon Island boas and all, when they're born, they're lizard eaters by nature. So we're like, well, no, you need to eat fucking pinky mice because that's what we have.
Yeah, and they're like, no, I need to eat fucking lizards. Yeah.
Like, millions of years of eating lizards. What do you want me to do with this mouse? And it's tricky. Jeff talked about our buddy Travis because he had a whole bunch of Solomon Island boa babies, and that's been an ongoing thing for him, is getting them to eat. He's been feeding them lizards. He's been able to get lizards from people to get them to eat, but some of them have not made it. But with my sand boas, I'm like, you either eat because you want to eat or you don't eat. I'm not force feeding anything here. And I had someone at a show overhear me tell a customer that about my boa constrictors too. I was like, they either eat or they become king snake food. It's the reason I own a king snake. And the person vending next to me got offended by that. And like, what the fuck are you offended by? First off, why do I want to put out an animal that I had to force feed or had to assist feed that doesn't really want to eat or have the will to survive on its own? And then be like, here you go, take this. And then if that person, I don't want them to breed anything like that. I think that you can breed good feeders. I think that I fully believe that it may not be a gene or whatever it is, but good feeders will eventually produce good feeders.
The thought is that when you further a species in captivity, it becomes more accustomed to captivity, and
look at ball pythons now.
How you're keeping it. Absolutely.
I mean, we shit on ball pythons, but when I got into the hobby, people were force feeding them dog food because they couldn't.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see $10 wild caughts on the table back in the late '90s and stuff, and nobody bred them back then. It just wasn't really a thing. It wasn't profitable, and they were pain in the ass eaters. So,
but now you can breed them in a shoebox in a closet, and they'll eat a small rat, no problem. Like they are at least the success story for how to get a species to survive. Our berms are that way too. Retics are that way now. I mean, you look at all these species that when the 90s and 80s they were not easy species to keep. Everybody was keeping corn snakes and king snakes because we had that figured out. And now you see where they're at because people didn't keep the shit that was hard to feed. They said, fuck it. that's kind of one of the problems with the morph market, with not the website, but the morphs in general, is that because we put this dollar value on
The
certain
market of
the market of morphs, which also sounds like a weird way to say morph market.
Yeah.
But
not the website where you sell stuff.
we put an emphasis on a certain color, and this baby comes out, and that color snake costs $2,000. Someone's less likely to let that $2,000 snake just die because it doesn't want to eat, and so they're going to force feed it, and then they're going to sell that thing, and someone's going to breed that $2,000 snake that doesn't have the best genetics for eating.
Yeah,
and that's why we still have the
bloodlines.
Yeah, and so we've got to make some hard decisions sometimes that people don't want to make, unfortunately. Terry
Everybody
says
wants everything to be peaches and cream, and no matter what aspect, I think, and I'd love that, but it's just not ever going to happen.
Well, and not everything's going to end up being easy to take care of.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
not every species is going to be the stuff that we take care of easily. Like, it's just, some things are going to be lizard eaters, some things are going to be frog eaters, and look, we should be happy that we've gotten hog noses to eat mice left and right, no problem.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not naturally rodent eaters.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Parts of the hobby drive me nuts.
Out west, the people have like eastern hog noses that eat rodents. I know we can't have those here, but I know they're like notorious. They're even worse than westerns on toads usually.
Yes. Yeah. Jeff says he has pretty good luck with his feeder bucket soup. He has chicks, mice, and rats that all thaw together.
I do that a lot. Yeah, just throw it all in the same bucket. Eventually,
get a lot of sense.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah,
I've tried to use chicks, or I've also done the thing before where I had a viper boa that I couldn't get to eat and ended up not surviving. But I would catch lizards and just like I'm sitting there rubbing this lizard against a pinky mouse, like smell like a lizard, come on, and then try to feed it. That lizard had to go back into the wild, confused as fuck.
What just happened to me?
Goes back to his friends. This dude rubbed me against a dead rodent. his friends were like, "Dude, you drunk. Go home."
Back I've never been so violated.
Allison Harris says it depends on the species you're working with, which we talked about. But getting small baby snakes eating an established can be like pulling teeth. They're terrified of the world, including their own food, which is true, which is, again, understanding your species, which is why, as much as people want to bash racks, I think some species do better in racks, especially as babies.
And I think young snakes do well in racks, as long as they're not like in a boreal, or something like that,
Yeah.
Ground snakes.
I think definitely work well for certain things.
Yeah.
The sense of security and something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Plus, it's also easier to keep things humid in a plastic drawer. So blood pythons, for example,
white lips stuff.
White lips. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that on that subject, I don't know how many times I've like sold something like an Eastern Stimson's hatchling to somebody, or some kind of small snake, even ball pythons when I had them. And you'll tell the person like, okay, don't go home and put this in a 55-gallon or something crazy like that, or that size, you know what I mean? And they don't want to believe you. They think since it's a wild animal, it needs this huge space, you know what I mean? And it's the snakes usually stop eating on them. And then they talk to me and they're like, what do I do? I'm like, put it in something smaller that's short, that doesn't have height. Because height is where all of a snake's predation comes from.
Yeah.
Birds of prey from above, ground mammals from above, everything that grabs them, lizards from, any of that stuff, it's going to come from above. When you're a snake, death literally is coming from above, that's what spooks them, the floor space is important too, not to go overboard. But man, the height is a killer to get baby snakes to eat. If you have way too much height for snakes that are like fossorial or terrestrial, or even like low level semi-boreal, like children's pythons and things like that, put them in something that is short, and they will be great.
Well, and so again, like I said, I keep a lot of sand boas, and these are things that stay buried under the sand. So tubs work great because it's a built-in hide, and they're going to stay buried anyways. They want to stay covered. Another one I think would be misleading to someone is I have a pair of Louisiana pine snakes, and yes, they're a pine snake. They get big, 5-6 foot, and you would think nice big enclosure for them to climb around in. These things live underground in mole dens. Like they're constantly living 90% of their life in mole dens. They go in, eat all the moles or all the gophers, and then stay there, and live underground. So they do great in tubs. Like if I open a tub and to go put my snake back in, the first thing it does is shoot back to the dark backside of the tub.
Yeah,
So that's where it
absolutely.
wants to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's actually a nice trick for keepers. You're trying to put an animal away. It sees the dark area and it's like, I'm gone. So yeah, I do that as well. It works well.
And there's definitely some that would do better in cages as adults. Some of your larger things that do better in cages.
Yeah,
as adults.
absolutely. Stuff like carpet pythons and things like that are going to do better in a roomier enclosure.
Yeah. Retics. It drives me crazy seeing retics, like big retics in a 6-foot rack. I'm like, and they take up 3/4 of the rack curled up in there.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a snake that moves.
That's rough. Yeah.
For a python, especially for a python that's 15 foot long, moves quite a bit for its size compared to something like a ball python, which may be in the same spot for days at a time.
Yeah, they're lucky.
That's another thing of knowing.
A bloody nose.
Yeah, those guys want to get around.
Rubbed, yeah.
In a berm's not going to move as much as a retic, so a berm could do a little better in a situation like that, but they still need some space to move around too, I'd imagine, with yours.
I have them all in cages. My cages are like 2.5 meters by 1
Stop
meter.
using your imaginary math over there.
Big. You can lay in my cage
So
and
we're
be
going
comfortable.
7 foot, 2.5 meters, 7 or 8 foot.
I guess.
It is. Because
I trust you.
We use our real math over here.
And only here just
Yeah.
The reason I don't teach math, so don't look at me.
So yeah, 7 or 8 foot is pretty good. And your berms aren't big berms. Like,
No, my biggest female is 3 meters now.
fuck you and your stupid math.
Keep going.
Yeah, my olives are in an 8 by 4 by 2.
When let's see, Eric in our chat says he had a trio of San Diego Gophers and a 4x2x2 Applegate enclosure, which has that bottom like subfloor area where they can go hide. And they said spent 95% of their day in the hole in that bottom enclosure instead of out in the open in the 4x2x2 open area.
Yeah.
So
Yep, snakes like to hide and wait for stuff to run by them so they can eat it.
there's a reason when we go herping, we don't find snakes left and right everywhere, just roaming around out in the open.
It would have been way easier.
Much easier to go herping that way.
We put too many like human emotions on our snakes. I think we want them to be things that they are not,
Yes.
Sorry, I had a point here and I lost it there, but I think we worry too much about our snakes. Like when Nick was on your show, like he said it best. He's like, your snake doesn't need to do anything, like it really doesn't. Like it doesn't need to go to the grocery store, or it doesn't have a job to go to, it doesn't think that way, like it thinks a little more simply. Like, I think I might sit in this tree for 8 days and wait for something to run by me so I can eat it. And then after that, I'm going to go get a drink of water and come back.
Well, and I will agree that for a long time, we definitely, as a hobby, looked at snakes as being dumber than they really are. And you've got some snakes that but at the same time, there's a difference between dumb
and misunderstanding their intelligence.
They're not a social animal in the sense of a dog or birds or things like that. They don't have that social structure. Therefore, they don't have the same needs. So yes, your snake is okay sitting in the same spot for 3 or 4 days, because that's what it would do in the wild. It's going to sit his ass there and wait for food to run by, eat food, and then sit his ass back there and digest food for the next week.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous of snakes because they're like a super lazy animal that always stays in great shape.
That is true.
It must have been nice.
Let me sit here all day and eat something once a week and I'll be in great shape.
So Christina says that her snakes actually move around a lot in her enclosure. I'm not saying they won't, and I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that. Look, there are definitely some snakes that are way more active. So
Yeah, definitely. And
corn snakes,
nightfall
king snakes.
creates things moving too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw up there somebody mentioned about a gopher snake. We used to work with bull snakes. We still have a few babies that are left over from when I bred them, but those were one that I had put in drawers and racks. And I ended up moving them into caging because the males move so much, they scratch up their noses. So that we, they absolutely move. It just depends on, the type of snake really that we're that you're talking about and looking at.
Yeah. Like Jeff said, boas and pythons are typically considered lie and wait predators, which is true for the most part. And colubrids most likely are mostly sit just to digest, which is true. I agree.
Yeah.
For the most part. But again, that's also knowing your species to species. Like I said, with Louisiana pines, I don't feel bad keeping them in a tub. Could I put them in a cage? 100%. But every time I've seen anybody keep them in a larger cage, they stay balled up inside the hide most of the time.
Yeah.
That's just because that's their natural ecology, is to stay balled up inside a burrow underneath the ground most of the time, which is why, one, they're endangered and we don't actually know how many fucking Louisiana pine snakes are out there because they're all fucking underground and we can't count them.
Yeah.
But other pine snakes and gopher snakes and things are different species and completely act differently and will definitely roam, which is the reason why people don't own buttermilk racers and coach whips on a regular basis, because those fuckers hate cages because they want to really move.
Yep.
Unless you have a 19 foot by 19 foot cage, or a buttermilk racer or a racer is probably not happy because they need to travel. Jeff said he never knew his snakes moved so much until he started taking care of them in the late night. And at night they definitely come out.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because that's another thing that's not in here, but just the care that temperatures always get me. Just because an animal's from the desert doesn't mean it always wants to be hot. It's not coming out in the middle of the day, which is why a lot of these snakes will come out at night because it's easier to move around. It's cooler. It's also easier to find food and all that stuff, but they definitely come out at night. Jeff, yes, it's sadly indigo snakes too. Yeah, they like to roam. That's a big snake that has a ton of territory. That doesn't really want to be inside of a 4-foot cage.
No.
Again, knowing the species is important. Let's see. Going back to some of our answers. Ish said raising your animals as hatchlings and neonates without power feeding, which we talked about, which is important. Don't be in a race to be the first one to breed your fat snake. Calm down. Our friend Megan Stabovich said, don't breed. See, I can say names just like yours. That's exactly how it is. She says she doesn't breed, but as a keeper, letting new animals settle in properly and building trust with their snakes can take time. Too many people are interested in the novelty of keeping snakes without taking the time to get to know their animals and appreciate they have their own unique personalities and temperaments. They're not toys and they deserve to be respected. Which I agree with. Yeah. A couple things there. If you get a new snake, maybe don't take it out to show all your friends the day you got it.
Yeah.
And then wonder why it won't eat for you.
Yeah. If it's a baby, I don't even, I recommend people just put it in there and don't mess with it for at least a month.
Yeah, that's usually what I tell people. I'm like, take it home, leave it alone for at least 3 to 4 weeks and get it feeding at least 3, 4, or 5 times and then start handling it.
Yeah.
I had someone buying a snake from me and asking me like, why isn't it eating? And showing me a picture every day on the scale, like she was weighing it every day. I was like, stop touching the snake, leave it in its enclosure. And
thing didn't know what to do.
Yeah, and I explained her like 5 times, and after like 2 weeks, she was like, it lost 10 grams or something. I was like, stop weighing the snake, just leave it in the tub. And she did it for a week, and it started eating again. And I was like, okay, good. I was telling you, just don't touch it. And it was a ball python, so they're a bit sensitive like that. So it was, it took a while.
I've definitely had people like that, for sure. Yeah, they just won't stop touching it.
Yeah.
Nope.
That reminded me. Remember the guy that told me he had that snake that I sold him, and he had it for like a month and a half, and it had shit.
Yeah.
And then he told me that he was keeping that boa at 76 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
I asked him how it's doing.
Meals rotten in its gut.
When I was like, how many times has it eaten? He goes, 7 or 8 times, and it's temp 76 degrees. It's like, okay, well, you need to turn the temperature up. I was like, you need to at least get on to about 88. But I asked him how it was doing. I haven't heard back, so I'm hoping he got the temperature up and that snake finally shit. I don't know.
Hopefully
I
so.
definitely on the care sheet that was sitting on my table when he bought it had the right temperature on it. But you know, that involves reading.
Yeah, sometimes you can tell people stuff over and over again, and it just goes in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
That's one of those things also that if you're in the hobby long enough, hearing the differences in how to keep and learning, like someone talked earlier about snakes not doing well because they get too hot. You know, when I got into this boa constrictors, it was like, keep them at 95 degrees. The hot spot needs to be 95 degrees. And I found more and more that that's way too fucking hot. And none of my snakes want to lay underneath 95 degrees. Like
Yeah.
85, and my boas are super happy at 85 in a hot spot.
Yeah.
So learning temperatures has been a big thing. Jeff said, talk about microclimates. He said it took forever to convince his girlfriend that leopard gecko doesn't want to turn into leather gecko. That is true. They do need to be able to get somewhere and some humidity for them and not always be hot. Going through. See what we got here. Jeff said night drops and temps gets your snakes moving. That is true. Studying the natural history of the animal. A lot of people don't do that anymore. Yeah, a lot of people couldn't tell you where their animal comes from. If it's not in the name, like if it didn't say Madagascan tree boa, they probably wouldn't know where it came from. And then even then, I have a kid that fucking junior in high school that I teach that didn't know Madagascar was a real place.
I don't know how many
Thought
times
peanuts
somebody's
grow on the
walked up to my
ground.
table.
Same kid didn't know that peanuts grew on the ground.
Same
Or
kid.
thought that mermaids were real.
And he also
This
thinks mermaids are
poor,
real. That's
poor
true.
Kid.
People walk up to our table and they're like, "What kind of ball python is this?" And I'm like, "It's not."
Yeah, I
Oh.
had a table full of albino and sun glow boas, and someone walked up and goes, "These are retics, right?" Not even close. Swing and a miss.
I heard a prospective buyer one day ask somebody next to me what was the difference between a boa and a ball, and I was just like,
I love you. So what's the difference between a boa and a python? I'm like, so much.
Yeah. Pretty much everything.
Maybe you shouldn't be out looking to buy a snake today.
It drives me nuts when they want to know the difference between this. I'm like, it's the same. Like, you don't walk up to someone and go, "What's the difference between a lion and a wolf?" Like, you don't. Like, you know that looking at them, those aren't the same thing. Like, they're drastically different. That's the difference. I'm like, I can give you a list of things that are different and see how many you remember.
Burger and a chicken sandwich.
Next answer, Kyle said, as someone who is only a keeper and doesn't want to breed, the thing is I see most people needing patience for, especially for new additions, is that we need to leave them alone for 2 or 3 weeks, which we talked about. A new environment is stressful enough rather than adding a giant skin monkey butler, hands grabbing at you all the time. Leave them alone for a bit. I get it. You want to handle the new baby, but just hold off until you get 2 straight meals in it. Yeah. Or 3 or 4 or all of the, I mean, just wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you have other snakes, quarantine before you.
God, that is.
Yeah.
Well, that was Jack. You had someone that wanted to buy from you once that questioned whether they should quarantine something they're buying from you.
Yeah,
Like, that should not be a question.
They asked me like, do you have mites in your collection? I was like, no, I hope not. But no, I don't have it. And he was like, yeah, because I want to know, because I have an expensive collection. So do we need to quarantine it? Because I have no space right now to quarantine it. I was like, yeah, my snakes are healthy, but it doesn't matter where I get my snakes. I quarantine them for like a minimum of 3 months always. It doesn't matter from who it is. It's just, I do it. So do with that information what you want. But eventually I got the infamous, I will get back to you on this later. And then he never contacted me. But I was like, yeah, just quarantine your snakes.
Yeah,
Don't
I
get
think when
any
people hear
ideas.
that, it like scares them sometimes when they're new to the hobby.
Yeah.
But it's a very real thing. Like when you have other snakes, like and it could come from anybody. You know, like if I've bought snakes from Nick and I quarantine them. You know what I mean? Like it's not just mites that could happen. You know, there's several other things that could happen, disease and things like that. So it's just best for your collection of animals to, you know, quarantine for that 90 days. I even do 120 a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Quarantine always 3 months and then just
I do a minimum
put
3.
them on paper so I can see like
Yeah,
if there's something on it.
paper towels.
And then the first month I don't handle them. And then after that, I start like checking out how their behavior is. And then after 3 months, if they're okay, then they can come in the snake room, but not earlier than that.
What'd you have to say, Katie?
So we don't get any ideas about this, but this is the longest we've gone without a snake quarantined in our closet.
We do have one in a bedroom though.
But we do still have the one in the bedroom that's being quarantined.
Yeah, I can
I
go
can't
come see.
even remember
But-
the time that since we've been together that we haven't had a snake quarantined. At one time,
I'm
we
pumped.
bought our Antaracea collection, and I think we had like 25 snakes in quarantine at one time.
So
and we were going
The
insane.
first quarantine is the closet because we have a very large closet. And we have like a shelf unit that like a large cage can fit on.
Yeah.
And then the smaller containers can go on the bookshelf on the dresser.
Yeah, it's in the bedroom.
And it's like away.
And
from
all of
each
this
other.
is downstairs from the actual snake room.
right.
So again, I have one issue with the hobby. Well, I have multiple issues with the hobby. But one issue I have with the hobby is that folks aren't truthful enough. I don't think. I think that and it's probably human nature. We don't tend to share our failures, and I feel like for this hobby to work, those have to be shared. So
Yeah.
I did not always quarantine. There was a time where if I got new snakes, they just went in my snake room, and
I
ended up
when I was younger, for sure.
and I lost all of my boas
So scary.
within about a month. They all got super sick, and now that I know longer, it was probably some sort of nido or something along those lines. But they and it only affected the boas, and no other snakes in my collection got sick. But they all dropped quick. They dehydrated fast because they automatically started having diarrhea, and once they dehydrated, they were dead within a couple of days, and their skin it was god awful. And so ever since then, well, that was rough because I got into the point after that happened. It was very much now I'm just keeping shit alive, and I don't really have the joy that I had before. It was just like everything I still had, I fed and cleaned, and it probably took another 5 or 6 years after that to go, you know what, I should get back into doing this, and that's what I went really heavy into, doing the sand boas and all of that stuff, and I got back into my other boas, but now everything is definitely quarantined. I don't put anything, and even I've got tons of stuff from friends, and I like Jeff said, I'm getting a ball python soon from Travis, and I trust Travis Wyman wholeheartedly, and I've gotten snakes from him before, but they've all gone through quarantine prior to going into my snake.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think he would
And Travis
expect
Travis would
anything
do the
less.
same thing.
Absolutely.
And I agree with
We've gotten snakes from Robert that we've put through quarantine, and they literally were like from 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
He's done the same with us. Like,
well,
it's just,
and like Jeff said, quarantine is huge and goes hand in hand with the patience topic.
wait, is the ball python coming from Jeff? Is that
Well,
what
it
he said
originally came from Jeff to
coming?
Travis, then from
Oh.
Travis to me.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
Jeff said, ashamedly, I put one of my mandarin rat snakes into quarantine just to rush the breeding process. And it says hit them with a new and then I'm confused on the Jeff. Your wording confuses me here.
A lot of people have learned a lot of hard lessons from not quarantining, that's for sure.
Oh, he's just trying to get it to breed, so he's going okay.
I think he means hit the window, like the female was producing follicles
Trying
or
to get it-
anything, and then hit the window.
So skip
like,
that and got it right in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think he means that.
But yeah, no, quarantine is definitely, and again, quarantine, like you said, paper towels, please don't set it in a bioactive enclosure is not quarantine. It's just not. I don't care how
No,
pretty you
it's
think it is.
It's not.
I use paper towels or newspaper or puppy pads.
I want to be able to see mites
Puppy pads are
first.
really good for some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We use puppy pads for our chameleon.
Chameleon.
It's amazing for the chameleon.
I know I gotta clean it because
Um,
a
I used
lot of
to use them in my
crickets
emerald enclosure.
Yeah, so it's great for things that definitely don't come to the ground that often.
like my chameleon only comes down if he's
Shit.
gotta go to the bathroom, and
Oh.
then he goes right back up.
Straight back up.
That was what he meant.
But I like paper towels because they're white and I can see if there's mites
Mhm.
immediately. Also, you can tend to see if there's any blood for any chance because it's on that. You can see it's urates and it's waste much easier on white.
That's why I start on paper towels, and then because it's sometimes a pain in the ass if you have like bigger tubs
Yes.
or something, then I just go over to newspaper after a month or something, or the puppy pads. I have a pied berm I bought. I don't know how long ago. I think it's ready to get out of quarantine, but it's still in just for sure. And now I put him on puppy pads just for the shedding process and stuff. It's easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
And then let's see here. Jessica Coleman said, convincing myself not to dig up the king snake because he stays buried, and I am positive he's dead again, but he's never dead. He's just mad at her. Yeah, that's another one. Is again, it goes back to the just leave your animals alone. Like calm down. Especially if you give it tons of places to hide, it's going to hide. Expect
Yeah,
that. Like,
That's what they do.
that's the point of the hiding spots. They're gonna
They
do
love
that. And then I saw you posted it, and I went over and looked at some of the answers from there. Evan on yours said waiting for snakes to reach maturity, which we talked about. Also, just not messing with them too much, which we also talked about. Also, just having faith in the process and not changing everything because you missed on your first attempt, which I think is big too.
Yeah.
People will change so many things and never know what actually is the issue. Or if you have a success, you don't know what made it work too. If you're trying to get them to breed or do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I try not to change too much up with breeders. The only thing I ever change up is like if it's something I'm newer to breeding, and maybe I didn't have as good a year the year before, I might take it down a few more degrees or something like that, but that's about it, the process is all the same. So,
and so that goes back to patience, right? Someone gets, especially if you're getting some of these adult snakes from somebody, whether they're wild caughts or they're whatever they are, and you get it and you're like, well, it's big enough to be able to breed. And then you try that year and it doesn't breed. That's not a failure. You may have to wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for it to settle into your situation.
Absolutely.
And breed. And a lot of people will bail on a project because they don't have the patience to wait that long to see if it will work out. Which is why you've got to get into projects that you are passionate about, not projects that you're trying to cash out on and make money on.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't try to get a project to make money, but it better be something you are passionate about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, something you're passionate about, you'll do a better job when you're presenting it to sell to a prospective buyer. It's you're going to be more passionate about it and talk about it more than something where you're like, oh, I'm just breeding this because this is what everybody wants and it makes me dollar bills. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
well, it's like I got these Calabar burrowing boas from our buddy Travis as well. I don't know if I'll ever get them to breed, ever, but I will try until the day they die to see if I can get them to lay eggs. I've got them set up. They're the weirdest thing to have to feed because one, they don't want to feed from me, and so I just have like they're in a tub because they live underground, so they don't give a shit if they're in a tub. It's full of just soil and dirt that they just stay buried in 95% of the time. They come out every now, but they're under a lot. And then to feed them, I just have to like take little cups of pinkies and hoppers and just put them in there and then leave. And they come eat out of them like fucking dogs out of a food bowl.
that's pretty cool.
And then I have to just,
I only ever had one Calabar. It was a wild caught animal and it didn't last super long for me. It did eat for a little while, but yeah, it mostly liked like little pinky rats and stuff like that. It was
they will not eat a big meal. Like it is not happening. They can't do it. Their mouth just does not open for a big meal. So I also have to assume that everybody's eating because I don't know who is emptying out the bowls, but I'm just gonna have to assume that because they definitely won't take it from me. I think I've gotten the female to take once from me, and that was it. But I think two of these I believe are wild caught, and one of them is one of those ones where they got a pregnant female in, she laid eggs, and they hatched it in captivity. But I think they're a cool snake. That's another one that it's kind of like your ring python. They're really cool looking as babies.
And then they're just kind of some of them,
they kind of turn just brown as adults.
Yeah.
But I still love them because I think they're
weird they are.
I love stupid looking dirt snakes. That's why I love them. That's why I love sand boas. I love rubber boas. I just think the stupid looking dirt snakes are cool.
In Australia, they call the Antaracia dirt snakes over there.
That's fun. Well, and it's funny because you deal with some of the snakes that when I got into the hobby in the early 2000s, late 90s, you saw in pet stores. So like Maclots, some of the other ones you saw in pet stores for
a lot of this stuff used to be extremely common,
Yeah.
Well, and I think a part of it too, like with the patient side of things, is Maclots, olives. They often get a really bad rep, for being bitey or nippy or whatever. And I think part of it is if people were
Maclots when they're young, it's deserved.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when they're young, it takes them a while to kind of grow out of that. So, they become better, calmer animals when they're adults. Like our olive adults, they're puppy dogs. Our big Maclots Mallory, she's fine. She's great. She's a little grippy. But, she's not out here. Yeah, a little flighty, but not out here biting. And so I think it's important to be patient through the young stage till you get to that stage where they're old enough and more calmed down and they know the regimen. And have kind of chilled out, basically.
Another prime example, I have two forms of Maclots here. We have the Rhode Island and we have Timor Island. Like my Timors have just like reached sexual maturity this year. They are a completely different animal than they were a year ago. A year ago, you couldn't do anything with them without them trying to bite anything that they could get a hold of.
Yeah.
Now you get in there and, you get them out of food mode and you take them out and they're really easy going. It's and that's where patience comes into play with some of these Indo and Aussie pythons too. And a lot of pythons in general. I mean, it could even be said like little ball pythons can be horrors sometimes,
Yes.
hatchlings.
Both of mine right now, if I go open the tub, the babies I have will try to bite me.
Yeah,
Which one?
worms are
But-
another
Oh, yeah.
example.
But with the
My berms are
Indo-Aussie
so-
stuff, you give it some time. Honestly, you could almost never touch that snake besides maintenance and wait till it gets to sexual maturity. And that will be your best times with that snake, because then it's past that food motivation stage where it's trying to grow up. So it's not predated on as easily. And so it can reach sexual maturity and further its line, so, but yeah, I think that's really big with like the Indo-Aussie stuff for sure. I think a lot of it turns into
I'm trying to think-
relatively calmer adults. Just everyone nowadays doesn't have the attention span to wait for the 4 or 5 years until it becomes that.
Yeah.
They're just like, this thing's mean. I got to get rid of it.
Well, my brain, I've had a brain fart. And I can't think. What is the other species? Not Maclots, but the other common or not so common now.
Fuscus, Savu, Dunn's pythons. Those are all in the
Maybe it's taboo. I'm thinking of.
asses.
But those are all things that you would see in like the shopping mall pet stores in the early 2000s that no longer exist anymore, thank God. But they were cheap. And
Jungle carpets used to be the hot thing back in the late 90s too, and there's not as many people around with jungle carpets anymore.
Well, and it's important that people like you work with some of these other pythons, because especially the Australian stuff. We talk Australian stuff in general, because I'll use air quotes, we can't get Australian stuff anymore out of Australia.
Yeah, we're pretty much not really getting much for new bloodlines on the Australian stuff over here at this point. I mean,
shy of Magic Germany portal.
Yeah. I've heard that one before. And I know some bloodlines have come over from Europe, and things like that. So, but
They come from Europe.
He was dead set
come
on
from
the US
Germany.
and finding a marble children eye, and I was like, it's probably not going to happen for you.
Give it time. I'm sure there is a marble.
Yeah.
children
I mean, it might
in Germany. Probably in Germany, and I'm sure it started. It never came from Australia. It's just from Germany. Never.
I will check it out on the Hum Show when I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'll be
Jeff
interesting for you to
Frederick,
walk
yeah.
in.
I remember that time, Jeff Frederick, when you could get Savus for like $60
Yes.
and Maclots for like $35. They were just everywhere. I remember seeing like wild caught Bismarck ring pythons on a table for $55 a piece back in the late 90s.
Well, and that's why it's important that people like you are working with these species, even if they're not overly common right now. They need to still be available in 5 or 10 years when some people go, you know what, I want to try this. Because that's the problem with some of these species that people got bored with, and they went to these monocultured collections where it was just one species of 70, 100, 150 ball pythons. Is we lost a lot of diversity of people wanting to keep different things in the hobby. And therefore, if no one's keeping those things, when the old ones die out, we're fucked.
Yeah,
Because they're
and
gone,
the
especially
Rhode
the Australians.
Island Maclots are like so rare in the hobby now. You don't see like a lot of people with them. And I've talked to a lot of people, like from around the country and on the internet and stuff. And they were something that you used to see. Like he said, you'd see the Rhodies for $35. They're like a darker Maclots with the gold flecking. I think they're one of the prettiest of all the races of the Maclots. But you used to see them left and right, and now nobody has any really that they can actually lineage for the most part or anything. It's just they've pretty much disappeared at this point. And I know there's some other species like that have just basically disappeared. And to me, that's kind of sad in another way too, because if something happens where one of these species ever goes extinct in the wild, if somebody's making them in captivity, at least we still have them in captivity, so that's something to think about as well when we're all just breeding the same thing out there.
Well, and like I said, a lot of folks, I think, don't, and I say this a ton on here, is I don't think people know what reptile is right for them when they get into reptiles.
They don't,
right?
Because there's not enough info.
Yeah, and they get told so many times that it needs to be a bearded dragon, it needs to be a ball python, it needs to be a crested gecko, right? And that's not even the right reptile for 90% of the people that want to keep reptiles.
No, that's not.
But yet that ends up making up 90% of the reptiles at a reptile show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing. And the other benefit to breeding some of the oddball stuff is you're usually going to sell them. Like if you breed Maclots, as goofy as those snakes are, you're probably going to sell a clutch of Maclots much easier than someone selling a clutch of ball pythons.
Yeah, there's not as much of them out there. So the people that want them want to gobble them up quick.
Yeah. And I'd like to see that happen more because I want to see more people get those things into their hands and just see them. Like I said, we've talked before. Also, Katie has brought up people get it's kind of a stigma and they get fussed at when they get into reptiles. They buy something and then they want to get rid of it and get something new.
Yeah, because this is something that I fall into this category of, because it's not that I don't love the animal that I get. I have a short attention span. And I'm going to do all this research on this animal and I'm going to fall in love with this animal. And that's all well and good. But when I have it in front of me and I'm taking care of it and I realize this is not like what I researched, this is not what I thought I was getting myself into, it should be totally fine for me to give that animal 6 months to a year of an awesome kick-ass life and then let it go live somewhere else and nobody give me grief about it.
But by somewhere else, you mean with someone else, not just like throw it out in the wild.
Oh, yes. No, like find a new home that's going to be equally as awesome as I am.
And then try something like, cause you may not, again, you don't know what reptile you want, especially like an Instagram and TikTok make people fall in love with reptiles they've never even seen or know how to take care of, right? So many people out there are like, I want a Boland's python. Yeah, it's pretty and shiny in the sun. You have no idea how much it costs, where it comes from, or how to take care of it.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yep. White lips are the same way. Like I said earlier, I always see them being like a hot species for a little bit. And it's like, do you really know what you're getting into? Like, these aren't like beginner snakes at all, But
it'll be great on TikTok, man. Come on. In the sun, it's going to be wonderful. I had so many people giving me likes.
Just like
I had a guy one day at the show. He was like a friend of a friend, and he was there for his first snake. Guess what he wanted? Emerald tree boa. Guess where he was looking? Imported ones off a table. And I talked to him. I said,
there's a reason those are cheap.
I said, if you really want an emerald tree boa, I said, maybe pump the brakes a little bit. I said, that's a pretty advanced species. They're touchy. If things aren't right, you can kill them. I said, maybe look for an Amazon tree boa and start there. You know what I mean? That will train you. They're a little less touchy on the humidity. If you screw it up a little bit, you're not going to kill them. And they'll train you for a little bit of aggression and a little bit of humidity training. Like we got. And I'm not saying nobody could have an emerald for their first pet. Some people could do it and be just fine. But, we also need to think practically and train ourselves for the situations we're going to be in as well.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like almost any reptile could be a beginner reptile for somebody if in the right situation. But again, in general, the right situation is not usually the one.
A lot of times,
Right. I'm not going to be like, your first snake should be a retic. It's great. I know you saw one online. A little kid was holding it. It was wonderful. You should totally get a retic as your first snake. That's probably not going to be the best first snake for a mom who brings her son to a show and they've never owned a reptile and she doesn't know anything about reptiles, but her kid's been begging her for a snake. I don't need some dude trying to talk her into a retic or a pissed off import, whatever, because it's cheap.
Yeah.
Like, stop that shit. Because one, they're going to get that. It's going to be a horrible experience, most likely for them and for the animal. And who knows if that animal is going to make it through that experience. But then you've completely lost somebody who could be a part of the hobby long term if they started off correctly.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they get something like that and then they automatically assume like reptile keeping is too hard or something, and that's not it. You just let's go to patience again. When you're buying your animal, that's where it starts. Having the patience to have the proper setup and ready to go for it. Having the patience to not buy the first animal you see just because it's the species you're looking for. Look around, really look at animals, learn what to look for when you're looking at animals and things like that. and you'll end up, maybe getting a better experience out of that. And I think so many people don't get that, and they probably give up because it didn't work out for them the first time, or maybe they went back to the same person and maybe it wasn't the greatest vendor in the world or something like that, So, that's frustrating for a new keeper for sure.
And one thing we got to do, and look, I get it. I shit on them a lot. I shit on ball pythons, and I probably need to stop in some cases. But so many people get talked out of an animal because they're told by so many people that it's not a popular animal. That's not like one of the really cool ones to own. I get that a lot with Sambos, and I get that I'm kind of trying to sell a snake that nobody else wants.
Okay.
But I get that with Sambos. I get told all the time that they're
popularity contest.
Well, yeah. I get told like they're dirt snakes, or they look like worms, this or that. I'm like, they are, and there's a tons of people that like that. But the problem is some people will not get something purely because they feel pressured to not get it because other people told them they shouldn't get it.
So we recently gave one of my coworkers at school one of our ball python babies.
Yeah. she's
had a snake before. I got a leopard gecko right now. She's one of the science teachers in elementary school. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I tried to talk her out of a ball python because, like, I have a corn snake in my classroom. She's active as shit and everybody loves her. And she was like, no. She was like researching all kinds of stuff. She actually sent me an update the other day. She's like, Mitch is coming out. He's getting a little more excited because she hasn't taken him up to school yet. She's like getting him, used to being handled and all that good stuff, and then taking him. But the weekend before they got him, they were actually at a show and bought another ball python from someone we know. And she sent me a picture of his business card. And I'm like, oh, he's a great guy. I love him. He's also a teacher. She's like, yeah, we totally just bought a ball python from him. I was like, well, it's going to be a great snake because I trust him with all of the stuff that he has.
Now she owns 2 ball pythons.
But now she has 2. And her husband was
that's how it starts.
Well, and that's what we tried to tell her husband.
We ran into her husband the other night. And he's like, well, we only own 2 snakes. I was like, no one only owns 2. The only person I know on earth that only owns 2 snakes is Darren, if he's still in the chat right now. He's the only person I've ever known my entire life that owns only 2 snakes.
That's like eating
you either own you either own 1 snake or 20 snakes. There's no,
you gotta catch them all. But he said his wife's already like looking up other types of ball pythons and other types of snakes that she wants to get. And he's like, no, we have 2.
African house snakes are also good.
African house snakes are cool.
Yeah.
I like
those
that.
are easy. I have a couple of them.
I'm telling you, an African house snake is what happens when a python fucks a corn snake.
Yeah.
They're very
and they always eat.
Yeah.
They always eat. They're great snakes.
Yeah, mine has never turned down a meal.
Nope. I produced my first 2 eggs, and they should hatch like when I get back. So
fancy.
Yeah. So we'll have 2 babies.
Honestly, that snake, the African house snake, that's probably a better pet snake for most people than a ball python or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're way easier.
And they come in so many colors now too.
Yeah.
I have 2 types of albino. I got a black one.
They stay a lot smaller than a ball python too, especially females.
And males are like really, really small.
Yeah, Kyle.
Jeff said,
I've got 30-plus-year-old ball pythons, like girls I got as adults in 1997, that are still kicking around. I think they're going to outlive me probably.
I like Jeff. He said, can we talk about the patience or restraint that each of us should probably show when we go from 2 to 10 snakes? Well, shut up, Jeff. Don't bring
that's that not part of the show. We weren't talking
Nobody
about
needs that.
That's not what we're talking
about. There's our unicorn.
There's Darren with his 2 snakes.
We actually told them about you the other night too, because we saw them at one of our barbecue places.
Yeah, Darren, we use you as an example of a weird ass person who only owns 2 snakes.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird.
It is weird. He's literally the only person I know where I'm like, you only own 2 snakes. And he only own, he's cool.
I started with 1, and after that I got 3 and 10 and then 6, and then went from there.
So,
and then another thing I'll touch on with patience is when you are buying your animal, like carpets or something. I could probably use a prime example, but don't look at it like for what it is right then and there. Like look at it for what it's going to be like 3 to 5 years from now. Carpet's prime example there. And when selecting stuff, like look for patterns you like, look for markings you like, things like that. That'll end up getting you an animal you're happier with.
Look for quality, not just
Yeah, absolutely.
buy the first one you see.
Yeah.
Well, and look, a lot of us go through what I tend to call the Noah's Ark part of the hobby, right? Where it's you get anything and everything at the beginning. You're like, yeah, I'll take that. I want that. I want one of those, and one of those, and one of those. And usually one of a few things happens. You either do that and then burn out quick and leave the whole hobby, which happens a lot. You do that and you're cool with having a whole bunch of them, which I don't see that often. Or you do that and then you realize I don't like 90% of the shit that I'm currently caring for, but this 10% is really cool. Let me get rid of all those and get this 10%. And so it's a weird thing when you watch people get into the hobby for the first time. And you try to give advice, but everybody's different. And that's another part I think that we have to be careful when giving advice. Everybody is different. So you can't.
And that is okay.
Even as an experienced keeper of keeping all kinds of snakes, like, we'll bring something in and be like, this is a good idea. And then, like a year later, you're like, this is a terrible fucking idea. You know what I mean? Like,
bull snakes.
But yeah, there you go. Like, and it's for whatever reason, that you might not like keeping that species, or it might not be for you. But yeah, sometimes things don't work out the way you hope they're going to.
I was just thinking about getting some bull snakes, but you don't recommend?
If you like cleaning up big colubrid messes, I recommend. But that's
so
not
messy.
totally for me. So
Yeah.
I get it.
I was on python poop for like 20 years, so I like that a little better to clean up.
Well, that's the only reason I'm okay with it with my Louisiana pines is I fucking love Louisiana pine snakes just for the natural history of them.
Let me just put it this way.
Yeah. All the pits are awesome looking.
If you take out,
I don't want a whole room full of them.
if you take away the Chinese alligator in the kitchen,
Hey, wait. I think we need to go ahead and state that I have a Chinese alligator in my kitchen.
It took 1 hour
Hour,
and
46 minutes.
46.
And
Robert-
I was the one that brought
Robert
it
wasn't here to
up.
present.
Alligator, that's pretty good.
I was the one that brought it up.
There's a Chinese.
We'll talk about the Chinese alligator in a minute. Let me get to my point. So, if we took the Chinese alligator away,
Don't you dare take my Chinese alligator
his
away.
next favorite thing in this house would be the Louisiana pine snakes. Easy.
And they look like bull snakes.
Easy.
Or do bull snakes look like Louisiana pine snakes?
That's true.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, Robert.
Hey,
How you doing?
hey guys. Y'all want to hear
It took
something
an
funny really
hour.
quick?
Sure.
I went to join the studio and realized I didn't have a shirt on and was like, oh, shit.
I thought about doing the whole interview shirtless, but I didn't want, like everybody calling me up trying to get my phone number and stuff like that.
It
So
took us
man,
an
I
hour,
couldn't-
an
Do what?
hour and 46 minutes to mention KP.
That's because I wasn't
That's a
here.
record.
Yes, Robert was here. It's important for everybody to understand that I have a Chinese alligator. I don't understand. I mean, wait. It's important for everybody to understand
We are
that I have a Chinese alligator on loan
loan.
from Crocodile Encounter, that I don't own the Chinese alligator.
that we are fostering, and he is
But-
chunky, and you need to clean his cage.
I do need to clean his cage because he's gotten to where he eats like a dog.
Yeah.
So now I just take his dry crocodile pellets and I just put it on his platform, and he'll go up and just grab them and eat them like a dog. But then he takes them into the water, and he really only eats about half of it after the rest of it turns into mush and falls into the water. But I did give him a small mouse
So
last
maybe
night.
you can hold him, Jack, after the podcast, and that will make cleaning his tank much easier for James.
I
It's easy
will.
to clean it with him in there. He's fine. He's a puppy dog.
Or you could let Jack hold the
I
Chinese
could let you
alligator
if you want
again.
to hold the Chinese alligator.
I
Maybe he
will.
won't pee on you this time.
But as far as owning, I can say as far as owning pits, I love the pines, but I'm with you. One reason I have a limited number of dog in here.
Because the
Get out of here.
gate's open.
Dog. The reason I have a limited number of colubrids is because I am a boa person, and that feed them 1 meal, shit 1 time is great.
Mm.
The feed them 1 meal, shit 5 times is a pain in the ass.
But even African house snakes do that.
Yes,
They
I know.
eat once and is shit 5 times.
Yeah.
Sounds
But-
like me, no Mexican food.
Well, that's the
Did
reason
Jack tell
I
y'all
don't.
took him to Chick-fil-A last night?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
He did. One of the reasons I don't own hog noses, I thought at one point I was like, oh, I'd like to get into hog noses. They're cool. And then I owned one, and then it's shit. And the smell from that one hog nose made me realize I don't want a rack of that. That would be a fucking nightmare.
Terrible smelling shit.
You can do that with your kids. First time you're like, oh, nope, that one's going back.
Well, yeah,
And I only had that issue when I wasn't home.
Joe only ever had explosive diapers when Katie would leave for a few hours.
But like I
Also,
love
just-
ribos and indigos, but yep, not going to touch them because I already know the story.
No,
There.
they smell so bad.
Indigos paint with theirs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they
Beautiful
get it on their
animals.
tail and just paint it.
Yeah, I just don't want to deal with that.
Yep.
Well, that's another thing. I think knowing. So when it comes, we talk about patience is important, but also knowing your limitations.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that I'm a lazy keeper. I just am, and certain animals work better for a lazy keeper than someone who is super always in their snake room and always doing this or that. And I think both ways can be done properly. If I had a room full of colubrids, that room would probably smell like shit, and then I would be a nightmare because I'd be in there like, God, this place smells like
Which
shit.
is why the only thing we have aquatic are the newts, the alligator, and the fish tank. And that's it.
Yeah, and the fish tank, the filter takes care of the poop.
Mhm.
I only have a turtle. That's my only aquatic thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to have other aquatic stuff. One, I can't own diamondback terrapins, which is the one turtle I want to own. So
And I like
that's not
those
gonna
a
happen.
lot. They're probably my favorite turtle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
See, y'all can at least own them up there. We can't fucking own them down here.
Yeah, I see them at the Columbus show all the time.
Where are you guys at?
We're just outside of Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. I missed everything tonight, so you know.
Oh, you're good. You're
Yeah.
good.
My boss likes to come in on Tuesdays at like 4:30 and say, "Hey, let's go to happy hour and talk business," and that's what we did tonight again.
Hey, at least you get to talk business at happy hour. At least
Yeah, I mean, it's just because he likes to drink a lot. That means we're in the corner of this restaurant that he loves, that knows the owners, with all of our laptops on a table and a bottle of wine and appetizer.
Hey, appetizers. There you go. That's a benefit. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
That's your bonus. That's your bonus for the year. It's just as appetizers. Hope you enjoyed them.
No, I found out what my bonus is going to be today, and I'm pretty happy about it. So
Lots of appetizers. Good, you can buy me some.
yeah, it's like double what I thought. So I'm pretty happy.
Sweet.
Good.
Yeah.
I did want to talk while we're here. I want to talk about. We took Jack to Crocodile Encounter,
Yeah.
and we said earlier we were going to talk about that because we didn't get Jack. So we talk about it on here a lot. Our buddy Chris Dieter owns Crocodile Encounter, which is one of my favorite places to go. But Jack, tell me your opinions, your true opinions on going to Crocodile Encounter. What you thought?
It was really cool, especially like all the naturalistic enclosures and stuff with it, and all those boardwalks. It's just I don't know. It's a real cool cool aesthetic, and just it looks really cool. And he has some very cool animals.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere, as you
Yes.
realize driving out there. It's in the middle of nowhere, but in there, it does have all those boardwalks,
Mhm.
and you forget that you're surrounded by fields all
Yeah.
the way around there. 'cause
It
it's-
feels like a swamp.
and there's no concrete pools for any of the crocodiles or alligators. They're all natural. They can dig into the earth, and they do. But we got to see lots of cool things. I don't even know how many species of crocodilians he has out there, but it's a lot.
A lot.
I know he has Chinese alligators, just like I have one in my kitchen. In case anybody's wondering.
And I saw the parents to the Chinese
You
alligator.
did see his parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite part out?
We got to watch a male and a female Nile croc mate, but they were backwards from what they should have been.
It was wrong.
It was very weird because he's like,
Either
"There's
they
the
were
male,
doing
there's
it
the
right."
female." Then the female crawls on the back of the male and tucks her tail under, and we're like, "Are you sure?"
They're either
so
doing it
weird.
right and Chris is wrong, or Chris
Right.
is right and those crocodiles don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, by the way, absolutely one of my favorite moments there. That even he was like, "Okay, I need to take some pictures of this because this is weird."
What was your favorite animal scene out there?
That's a hard one. I did
It was
really
the goats,
like
wasn't it? It was the goat.
Well,
goats?
it was the no.
The
It was
emus.
the wild snake that he saw.
the wild
You
snake.
did see your first
Yeah.
wild snake.
First
Yeah.
wild snake.
Our kids spotted it of all things.
Yeah. And the emus were also cool.
You already have emus.
I know, but these were blonde emus.
They were cute.
And I have regular emus.
So they're dumber.
I don't know.
They're blonde.
But I think the favorite animal was the aldabras.
That's what I was
Aldabras?
gonna think. I thought he was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah,
That
That-
was just so cool.
I did love going up. Because they were awesome. They come out and they stretch and they let you like rub their
Yeah.
necks and everything.
looked
Well,
like
we
the
couldn't have asked for a
statues
better
you
day.
buy.
It was overcast, but about 80 degrees.
The
But
weather
not
was
too
great.
humid, so everything was out of the water
Yeah.
basking. And then it was just, and it wasn't. Every time I've been out there before, it's been like South Africa hot, and I feel like I'm dying. and half the animals are in the water with nothing but their eyes sticking out. So it was it was like perfect day.
Yeah. What was that one croc, that massive one? What was
Orinoco.
the Orinocos?
Yeah, the Orinoco.
Those are really cool as well.
Yeah, but they're
Did
going
you-
bye bye.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
pretty rare, aren't they? Are they
He's-
extinct at this point?
No,
Not extinct. They are endangered.
Okay.
But he's
sending his to Florida.
getting rid of his
Oh,
to
wow.
expand his saltwater crocs exhibit.
Yeah,
Does he have Garials?
No,
guess
he
false
does have.
Garials.
Huh?
I
He
love
has
good
false
Garials.
Garials.
He has the false, the false Garials.
We've seen those. Those were also cool.
Those were cool.
And his Komodo dragons.
You did see the Komodo dragons. Those were cool. Trying to see what else that we saw out there. You saw the leucistic alligator.
The albino
Well,
alligator.
Yeah, and his albino alligator.
And the albino snappers.
The snappers.
The albino snapper turtles. Those were cool. So,
Yeah.
would you recommend people go into Crocodile Encounter?
Definitely. Everybody should go there.
Yeah,
It was so cool.
They do summer camps during the summer for kids. And I have several of my zoology club kids that go over the summer, and they just go on and on about how amazing it is during the summer.
Hey, any place that lets me keep a Chinese alligator is fucking amazing, and everybody should go there. Just throw
Thanks
it-
for paying your
legally
admission. Here's a
obligated.
Chinese alligator.
I think my favorite part is how there's nothing sterile, and you're on the walkways, and you're like, I might fall in the water, I might not, and
It is.
and it's just I don't know. It feels like you're in the swamp looking at crocodiles.
Yeah.
I do walk through there going, man, AZA zoos would fucking have a
I
nightmare.
walked through a spider web because so Saturdays are the days that I take my injections for my diabetes. And so I typically don't do a lot on Saturdays because I tend to get kind of sick to my stomach. But I'm like, no, I'm going to go. I haven't gone anywhere with Jack. I felt like I was anyway. So I was going to be social, but I did have to sit and take a break. So then when I got up, I could hear you guys. And I'm like, okay, I have to follow the voice. And I could hear Chris telling you guys stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go this way because maybe they went this way because you weren't in the buildings. And so I walked and the bamboo had grown over. Yeah, no, walked straight through this massive spider web. And I'm trying to get it all off of me. And then I can hear you. So I'm like, nope, I'm still on the right track. And I eventually caught up. But y'all were looking at the hoof stock.
That was
yeah.
the water bucks were really cool. That's the closest I've ever seen the water bucks. Those are pretty cool. It's like if
Pretty
anybody's ever seen a water buck, I'm telling you, it's like a donkey fucked a deer. That is what a water bug looks like. It's a weird looking hoof stock. It's thicker than you. It's an odd looking guy.
It was cool. And I
And then
catch
we
the
took
tree
Jack to
frog
eat Cajun food afterwards for the first time.
also.
We did. We found
And we all went home and took naps.
I did. We did.
Yes, we did.
And then I got sick because I ate way too many carbs that day.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Are you better?
he ate more
I-
when he woke up.
I ate more the next day and got sicker.
Yeah, because he didn't
Shut up,
listen to me.
James.
So I always was like, if I ever became lactose intolerant, I would just say fuck it and eat ice cream and be sick.
Nope, not anymore.
I don't think that's how I'm going to live this. I think I'm going to cut back on some of the carbs because it fucking sucks.
It was bad.
I got to work yesterday, got in my classroom, and I got there with the idea of I'm probably going home. So I got the stuff set up for a sub. Bell rings for kids to come in. They go to class. I prop the door open, walk right out the door outside of our building, and begin to just hurl on this right off the sidewalk. I was like, all right, I'm going home.
Yeah.
And so
Joe and I got a phone call. We were almost to my school. Hey, I just threw up outside of the building. I'm going home. I was like, okay.
yeah. So I'm gonna have to cut back on.
Jeff
On
asked in the
carbs.
chat, has Jack had boudin balls? No, but he did try
No, we're-
boudin.
We've got plans for a place that has boudin balls that we're gonna
Yeah,
go
that
to.
we can actually that are like
I think on
legit.
our trip to Reptilandia, if we pass it in time or not in time, we'll try and get
Oh,
some
we're going to stop at Best Stop?
if
I
we can.
think
If
so.
they're open, yeah.
Cool.
But I did try the boudin with a
on the cracker.
Yeah, on the crack. It was pretty good.
I like it in ball form better than.
I bet you do.
Shut up. Better than that.
You haven't tried peanuts and Coke, have you?
Nope.
We
not
got.
yet.
I can buy a glass bottle Coke. They have them at the gas station down the road from my school.
For anybody out there, if you've never had peanuts and Coke, you've done
Just got
done
really
life
dark
wrong.
in our room with us because
Yeah.
all the
All the
lights
lights
went off.
So, anyways, I know we got sidetracked with the talk about Crocodile Encounter and Jack's experience in the United States, which is going to come to an end soon. You've only got what,
No.
2 weeks left? Week and a half?
Next
Week and a
Saturday. Yeah, I'm leaving.
We're taking
We got
him
a
to
lot
a
next
gun show this weekend, so that's going to be
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
That's true. We're taking to a gun show,
I
and we're
couldn't
going to
think
take
of
you to a
anything more
show.
American than going
One
to a
of
gun
my
show.
co-teachers was like, "You need to prepare him for the type of people that he is going to see at this gun show."
Oh, it'll be
And I was
interesting.
Well, it's a very wide variety of individuals.
Is it? Is it not? And I expect like the same as reptile people.
No.
Oh no!
Oh
No.
Not even close.
You're
There's
gonna see
some
people that
overlap, but
look
not a
like
lot.
They should have guns, and then you're going to see a lot of people that look like we should never.
So you know
let
how I
them
make
have
fun of your
guns.
country being super white and racist?
Yeah.
That's what this is going to be.
A large chunk of this will seem like home, but without the accent. So there is that. Expect a lot of shirts with American flags and the torn American flags. All that. It's gonna be a lot of
A
that.
lot of America.
A lot of America. A lot
I'm
of
getting him
America
America
boys
shirt
club.
before he goes home.
We need to make you
A lot
shirt
of,
before you go.
come and take it, I dare you kind of attitude. There's gonna be a lot of that. It'll be
lot of
fun.
MAGA. You'll see a lot of MAGA merch.
A lot of MAGA stuff.
Mhm.
You'll see a lot of red hats. A lot of red.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an experience.
It'll be an experience, and then we'll take you to shoot guns.
Take him to a monster truck rally when you're done.
If
There.
it was one, we totally would.
Yeah, it's actually not until January.
We totally would.
But we also have those in the Netherlands, like Monster Jam and stuff.
Oh, do you have Monster Jam?
Oh,
Okay, good.
cool.
Good.
I was just
You going
saying
to
that seems to be
Never
a
been
very
there, but-
popular American
Oh.
pastime.
You
Oh,
got
we
we
were
were
also going to
hoping-
take you to we were hoping to go like test drive a big truck.
Yeah.
yes.
I forgot about that.
We were hoping that there was going to be a bull riding or a rodeo while he was here.
Yeah.
Take him to get that experience, but there's like a PBR event the weekend after he goes home.
When we go to Reptilandia, we'll be able to take you to a big Bucky's.
Yeah,
we'll get to
Yeah.
experience
big one.
Bucky's.
So cool.
So there's that. So, and then we got the football game. Taking you to a football game this weekend.
Yep. And we did the
We did the
basketball game.
basketball game already.
Basketball game. So,
Yeah,
trying to think of all the
Well,
American. Did you
well,
do
in
Bass Pro
Texas-
Shops for the first time?
Is that
Bass
right?
Pro, yeah.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
in
we're
Texas.
in Texas.
What part of Texas are y'all from?
Houston.
Oh, okay. Do you know Andy Maddox down there?
yeah,
Yes.
That's a plenty. I've been to his
Yeah.
shop. Super nice dude.
yeah.
I
You
was
guys
thinking
take
about
it.
moving to Houston a while back, but I decided not to. It's too damn hot and humid.
It is
Yeah,
Yeah,
fucking.
y'all
I
snow.
grew up here.
Y'all snow up there, so fuck that. I don't want snow.
But yeah, I went to Andy's shop when I was there and did some other things. But yeah, he's a super nice guy. Good
I took
stuff.
James there for the first time a couple months ago, and
He's got
Well,
a
when we go
really,
to-
for a pet shop. He's really got a nice one. You know,
Yeah.
like good animals in it.
When we go to the learning zoo, we can take you over to Pets Plenty.
Yeah.
All right
Oh,
there.
good.
So we think it's pretty
A
good.
lot of-
giant king cobras.
Does
Yeah.
it still have a kookaburra in there? Like I
don't
think the
think it was
one
there.
had
No.
passed away, Gumbo. I think Gumbo passed away or something.
I think it did because it was in that right when you walked in. It was right
Yeah.
here to the left.
Yeah, those
don't
things
think
are
so.
cool. I'm not a bird guy much, but those things are just hilarious to me.
Those are fun.
I just want to say that Jeff
Probably-
explained exactly what people there are at gun shows,
What?
like in a Dutch way.
What is that?
Tokkies.
The fuck does that mean?
Yeah, that's kind of
Everything we've
He does have a
explained. Yeah.
TSOL
Okay.
shirt
Yeah.
on.
So it definitely. So it's a weird thing. It definitely brings a large subset of certain type of people, but then you get like regular people in there where you're like, these people seem out of place.
But that's also with metal concerts that you see like very nicely dressed people in between all the long-haired.
I get it. Well, like I've always been like, I'd like to probably go see Marilyn Manson in concert, but I don't want to be around Marilyn Manson fans,
Yeah.
so I could never go to that. Or like Korn or any of this. I just want to be around their fans though.
But
Well,
I
since
need
we're
to
talking
be-
about
metal people are
concerts,
very
I
I need to
friendly.
be in the
Mayhem.
back.
I went to the best show I've ever been to Sunday night, and I've been to a ton of concerts. I went and saw Jelly Roll Sunday night, and that dude puts on a hell of a
I
good
heard it was
show.
awesome.
But that's got to be a weird ass crowd too, because that's everywhere from
Oh yeah,
you got like rap country and everything in between.
there
Yeah.
was two people down with me were a family. The people in front of me were young guys smoking weed. The people behind me were my age. It was, and everybody was just having a good time. A great time, actually. It was a great show.
It's awesome.
Nice.
I've been paying for it because I'm too fucking old to stay up that late on a Sunday night and go to work the next morning. But
I'm gonna do that when JJ Gray's here in January. It's okay.
I'm looking forward to that one. Anyways, all right. Let's get. I know Robert's been here, so we should probably get out of here since he's been here for so long. What did Jeff say? Most metal and thrash shows that I've been to are the nicest and most respectful crowds. I lost my shoe and found it in 5 seconds at Rise Against last month.
That's awesome.
Yeah, most of the time, even if somebody falls in the pit or anything, like in the mosh pit, then everybody stops and just gets you up.
Katie's never seen a mosh pit until we went to go see Sum 41 a month ago.
So
and we were up on the 3rd floor looking down at the main floor.
Too old for that shit.
And she was like amazed at the mosh pit. I was like, yeah, that's up. But the problem was
like 50-year-old men in this.
I'm going to
mosh
show you
pit.
some videos of mosh pits
my
that slot to
God.
prevail. Then you see what the
what
mosh
was
pit
funny
is.
though is like the problem with Sum 41 is those people are my age and some older, and there were younger ones there too. The older ones wanted to be on the 4 to watch show, and I guess they didn't realize the mosh pit was going to start out at Sum 41 show. And you saw old people like as it started going, oh fuck, and they're trying to get out of the way because they didn't realize it was happening.
It was
fun to watch
very
the
amazing
mayhem.
for me to
Yesterday-
watch people.
Yesterday, I'm at lunch with one of my coworkers, and she just casually mentions that, oh yeah, Saturday night I went up to Fort Worth with some friends and went to the Iron Maiden concert. And I'm like, you're just now telling me that? Halfway through the day?
Hilarious.
We've been together all morning, and you just now, oh yeah, by the way, I went to an Iron Maiden concert.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah.
that's how you start. a
Took that long for the
conversation.
buzz to wear off for her to remember.
Yeah.
Right. She said they put on a great show, which
Jeff said
everyone I haven't
Guar
seen
was
I
a
want to see. And
Jeff
I've
said
seen
Guar
Guar
was a little
a few
different.
times.
That would be a odd show.
If you think a mosh
It's,
pit is
I stay out of the pit at Guar because they shoot stuff all over the crowd, and I don't really want covered in random liquids that I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
So
Cannibal Corpse was like that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
That's
just moved it.
Slayer had it rain out of the ceiling once, but only out of them or onto them. It wasn't onto the crowd.
Jeez.
well, if you think a mosh pit is crazy, you should see like a wall of death.
Oh, yes.
I
I will show you some videos.
Circle
Yes.
Pit's
yes.
my favorite. Circle Pit is always
Circle pit, wall of death.
Is the circle pit what we saw where they kept moving in a circle?
Yeah,
Yes.
when they move in a circle and
Yeah.
just run
And the
around.
wall of death is where like a lot of people stand like looking at each other and just ran into each other.
Yeah, no, we didn't see that. We did see a lot of crowd surfing too. That was kind of fun.
I love
That
when
amazed me because they get to the front and then security would just walk them back.
that's how it always
Yeah.
works.
And I'm like, well, that's super
You
fun.
need to go to more concerts.
Apparently, I'm not.
I
going to
always
the
love a
right kind
mosh
of
pit.
Concerts
I've
because
seen a mosh pit before
they
where
don't do that shit at like the Tim McGraw concert.
no, they don't. I saw a mosh pit once.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't
just-
like
yeah,
that at Cody
yeah.
Johnson a couple years ago at all.
No, Jody was seeing it. Did not have mosh pits at her concert when I was
and
18.
that crowd surfing's real cool until you don't see them coming from behind you and they land.
Oh
on you.
yeah, and then you get hit with like a giant boot right in your face.
I watched a teenage girl once in a mosh pit swinging her arms and broke a dude's nose. And like the other guys had to grab that guy and hold him back so he didn't kill this little teenage girl.
Holy hell!
But like he was just bleeding from the nose. I was like, damn, you should probably stay the fuck out of there.
Yeah, but some people start swinging their hands around, and it's just
Yes.
not. Yeah, that's not the best. But
Yeah.
that's why you keep your hands
No.
like this or like this, so you.
Or just stay back and watch people be stupid.
You're a
That's-
mosh pit guy, aren't you?
Yeah,
I could see that.
I used to be. I'm
I go to Slipknot 5 December. So when I get back, then that week I go to Slipknot again for the 3rd time.
That's cool.
I got fucked out of watch. So I went to Warped Tour when I was senior in high school. I graduated and we went to Warped Tour with a bunch of friends. And I think it was Andrew WK. And then the next one was the Ataris, who I've been waiting all day to see the fucking Ataris. They're the last one going on. Well, my friends, which were all girls, were at the front of the stage for Andrew WK, and a mosh pit broke out behind them. And they got caught up in it and they got all upset. And they're like, all right, we need to leave. And so I never got to watch the Ataris because we had to fucking leave. And so that's my experience being near a mosh pit. Is I got fucked out of watching the one band I had wanted to see that day because all of my friends
Well,
got.
I have a weird one who I want to go see next month in Austin is John Popper from Blues Traveler.
You're not
the lead
still with
singer.
Blues Traveler?
Huh?
I saw him with Blues Traveler once.
He,
Is he not
he
still?
still is with them, but he's doing a solo show in Austin.
Oh,
That'd be
That's
awesome. He's
yeah,
good.
that dude.
We
Because I love the
saw
harmonica. And he
them.
plays the harmonica like nobody
Oh, he's
ever has
awesome.
in their life.
Then we need to take you to see JJ Gray.
yeah.
I would love to go to
JJ
that.
Gray. So Kyle Graff said Flogging Molly took him backstage. That'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
We got to go backstage for Government Mule.
He said they didn't have Guinness, so they stole beer from Bowling for Soup and avenged Sevenfold's tour bus. So
Nice.
when I went to Warped Tour, that was right when Bowling for Soup had just kind of got big, and they were on one of the small side stages at Warped Tour, and I never saw them. A buddy of mine went to go see them. I heard about them afterwards. They there was a dude that had been walking around with a giant green mohawk all day long, and he was up near the stage for Bowling for Soup, and one of the guys from Bowling for Soup went off stage, brought out a giant super soaker, and sprayed him and laid his fucking mohawk down on the side of his face for the rest of the day. So he had to walk around with this big green mohawk down half of his face.
He was probably pissed.
It's fucking hilarious. I was like, God, I hate that I missed that. I keep hoping Bowling for Soup will come here because they're from like an hour away from here, but I haven't seen them come on tour here anytime soon. But anyways, that's our concert talks, I guess.
Slipknot's
We
fun live.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
Slipknot is fun live.
I'm wearing
Yeah.
my Slipknot shirt.
So cool. I've seen them 2 times now, and this is gonna be the 3rd time. So they always make such a great show.
Yeah.
I don't think anything for
Uh-oh.
me will ever beat the Family Values Tour 1998. I saw it in New Orleans, and it was like Korn,
That's Korn,
Rammstein,
Limp Bizkit,
Limp
right?
Bizkit, Ice Cube, and Orgy.
Oh, that's right. Ice Cube is
And
right.
that was an amazing show.
Love some old
And I was
school Ice-
18 years old, and yeah, do what?
I love some old school Ice Cube, like Predator era, America's Most Wanted. That's good stuff.
I've had fun this past year getting to take my kid to concerts.
Oh my God, y'all, we have done so much this past
Well,
year.
Robert and I took her. We went and go saw Cake, and she, along with me, sang every lyric to every Cake song they played, which was
Our
awesome.
child has a very wide array of music that she listens to.
Well, it was really fun. We got to go see. Not that anybody out there will actually know. I mean, they're a big band, but they don't fit into the category of bands we've been talking. But Government Mule, which is an awesome band led by Warren Haynes, who played guitar for oh shit, what am I bringing? The Allman Brothers. But buddy I went to high school with is the bass player for his band, so he got us tickets and backstage passes, and we got to like sit in this private little room and watch the entire
Our daughter
concert.
had to have like a whole conversation with Warren Haynes
And-
about how she enjoyed the
And my
concert.
dad's a huge Warren Hayes fan, so like I sent
Oh,
pictures
yeah.
of me with him, like, hey, here it is.
That's
Me
a
and him.
screensaver on your
It
phone.
is. It's
I'm not even on your
to me, my daughter, and
screensaver.
Warren, which was totally cool. Like it's like I said, the guy he was our bass player in marching band and jazz band in high school, and now he's like a bass player for an actual like famous band. It's
We saw All American Rejects.
we got
at
to take her to go
NASA.
see All American Rejects at NASA, which was cool. So yeah, I've enjoyed taking my kid to go see. Bowling for Soup was one I wish they'd come by. Bowling for Soup's an interesting one because they cover like they do theme songs for cartoons, so lots of kids know them from Phineas and Ferb. And I think Jimmy Neutron, I think, is the other one they did.
I think so, yeah.
And then they also do all their other songs. So it's anyways. It's been 2 hours and 11 minutes. We should probably go. JD and Kit, if people want to get a hold of y'all and find out about all the cool snakes you have and all the cool stuff you have, how can they get a hold of you?
I do have like a Wix site, but we don't currently have a website really. I don't really do very good on updating it currently either.
It's
The best way
2024.
probably
You don't need a
to
website
follow me
anymore.
is just through social media. Facebook, Instagram, Slithering Oddities is there. That's where you'll see all our posts, what we're working on, babies, whatever it might be. So that's probably the best way. We are on YouTube as well. I've got a couple shorts on there, and I do have a video about like keeping Antaracia and things like that on there as well. So that's somewhere you could find us. But yeah, social media is the best place. If you really need to talk to us personally or something, the phone number is right there on the social media.
And if you're in Ohio, you can see us at the Columbus Reptile Show or the Medina Cleveland Reptile Show. We're there every
Yes.
month.
And hopefully we will make it into Tinley this year. Actually, we are trying real hard to get into Tinley. So
Hopefully they don't put you in a side room.
yeah.
Do they still have
I
them?
was told that we might get in a little bit quicker because we have weird stuff, but I have no idea what that timeline means, So hopefully
I don't
we've
know
got
this-
some support from our community. People like, like a lot of people know us that do the show, like Rob Zirkle and Shay
Zirkle's
Hamper, and a lot of people that do the Tinley show, Dave Mankey, people like that. But yeah, they're great. We've got a great community here in Ohio. We always have. I learned a lot from people here growing up in this community and about reptiles. So thanks to everybody along the way. That's helped me through. So appreciate it greatly.
When your NARBC show will still be better than ours down here because I feel like I feel like ours is not going to be that great. Ours is becoming an all animal show.
I've heard something about that actually.
So they had to move locations, and when they moved, there were new regulations on what they could bring, and a lot of like boas can't be there, and a lot of the stuff couldn't be there easily. And so I think to make up the money loss from not being able to have all those breeders, they're like, now we're an all animal show, and I'm like, I don't want a fucking all animal show.
It's fucking wild.
I don't give a shit about dog products or bird products. I'm not there for that. But so Tinley's still cool. We went in 2019. I want to go back, but like we went the first year they did the side rooms, and that was a fucking nightmare for anybody in the side rooms because no one went by and saw them.
There is a show we do sometimes that, and I'm not going to call it out or anything, but there's like a room in the back that you kind of have to walk out of the main room to, and I feel like a lot of the vendors are frustrated back there a lot of times because I don't think people make it back to them.
Because in those shows they do the big room, and once they've done the big room, they leave. Like that's it. They're not gonna. They don't go looking for the other room.
It's a non-Ohio show, but we don't leave the state a lot lately. But we'll go some places here and there. So usually close by.
I wish we had a monthly show here, like just a regular, constant monthly show. Like I know that we have a lot of shows within 3 hours of here, and that kind of waters down. I feel like a lot of this stuff, but I like some of the small monthly shows that places have. I know our buddy in we have a buddy in Alabama who used to do a small monthly show in Alabama that was always kind of a cool one to go to every month, and it was always in a small room. It wasn't huge, so you always.
I think Terry did that show for like 25 years.
Yeah, the Dixie Reptile Show. It was a long time.
Yeah.
But oh well, we'll get them again at some point. Jack, if you don't do a show next week, you won't. This will be your last time on here.
Oh no.
So we may do a show. We probably aren't gonna do a show next week because we're going to Reptilandia on Tuesday, and then Wednesday we were gonna do something. I don't know. So we probably won't do a show. So if we don't have a show next week, guys, it's Jack's fault.
In Ohio, we're like oversaturated with shows. A lot of shows here.
We are here in Texas too. It's
every
I'm hoping
population these days.
I'm hoping that in the next year or so, spending will increase.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
I really just need like one of your snakes to sell, and then I'll stop freaking out so much.
Okay, anybody out there, please buy snakes. My wife will leave me alone.
Saying.
Please buy mine so I can feed mine. No, they get fed, but the overhead gets a little pricey at times. Especially when you're not selling animals and you're just working on a blue collar job salary, pretty much. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, everyone, we'll be back eventually.
We'll see.
Jack may not be.
We may just do like a one-on-one episode.
That's true. We may just hop on next week.
We can hop on Thanksgiving if we want after we wake up from our turkey comas.
That's true. We'll all be here at the house. We can just hop on for like.
Well, after we eat, I have to go over to my mom's, so we'd have to do it pretty quick after we eat.
That's true. We need to introduce Jack to your family. That'd be fun.
You want to see real American rednecks? I got you, buddy.
I kind of want to watch Jack's face as he listens to your family.
Are we playing left, right, center though? Because if we are, I'm down.
Oh, you should have seen his face when I handed him an AR-15 last weekend.
That was so cool.
I got a handgun.
There might not be one of these in the Netherlands, and I said, "There's 3 of them in that closet right there."
Yep.
I got a handgun. I can show you when we go downstairs. If you want to hold a handgun.
Yes.
Okay. I got a World War II rifle. If you want to hold a World War II rifle.
Yeah.
Anyways, JD Kid, thanks for coming on. If you'll wait a second as we log off, everybody else.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's great. We'll have to have you back on and like actually talk more about like the actual species you keep.
For sure.
Yeah, we didn't talk a lot about food this time. You know what? Robert wasn't here, so we didn't talk about food.
Well, and because I fed you before the podcast, you were hungry.
Me too.
We'll talk about food. We'll talk about food more next time. Everybody in the chat, thanks for being here. We'll be back at some point. I will get last week's podcast out. We'll say tonight. I'll try. This podcast will get out before next Tuesday. I promise that much. Ish. Thanks for listening. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
They can still see us. Hello, folks who can still see us.